Hey, good morning, everybody. Good morning. I hope everybody's having a great day. Welcome to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. And as you come in, I hope you guys can hear me okay. Let me know if you can hear me all right. And also, don't forget this podcast is on Spotify. So if you go to Spotify and look up Boyce Watkins, you will find a couple of podcasts that I do on a regular basis. One of the things I want to do is put more money in your pocket. So let's jump into it. It looks like today is going to be a bad day for the stock market. I hate to say this. I thought that today might be a good day because sometimes the good days follow the bad, but this is not one of those days, at least so far. Right now, before markets open, it looks like they're going to open even lower than they were on Friday, which is indicative of significant problems related to tariff uncertainty, primarily caused by the Trump administration. And so ultimately, it is one of these things where it's getting dark in the market. That does not mean it's going to be dark forever. That does not mean you should get scared and sell everything. It does not mean you should run away from the stock market. Let's just be clear about that. But it does mean that you're going to go through, just some interesting stuff. So I'll say good morning to Karen and Dizzy husband, Marquise. Let's see. Somebody said something about Marquise said something about the Zoom. Zoom don't sign no more for me. Well, if you want to get an invitation and you want to come into our morning class, make sure you're on the text list. Text the word morning to the number 87948. Text morning to 87948, and you can join Money in the Morning. We're going to do that a little bit later. All right, so can you guys hear me okay? Give me a quick yes. Let me know you can hear me okay, and then, then we can continue. A few things you should know about right now. The big piece of information that's going to really be released, that's going to rock the markets and make a move is Trump has a day coming up. I can't remember if he calls it Freedom Day or Liberation Day or something stupid like that. But it's a day where he's going to announce all these tariffs. It's not so bad that there are tariffs. It's really more so a matter of how the tariffs are rolled out. And I'm going to tell you, I don't approve of the way they're being rolled out. I think they're being rolled out in a way that creates more confusion than anything else. And so ultimately, this is going to happen this week. Liberation Day. Thank you, Audra. That's what it is. And Danielle, the number is right there on the screen for you. I see you're looking for that number to join the class. And so Liberation Day, which to me just, is a reflection of Trump's pomposity. He's very pompous, very arrogant guy, probably a narcissist. And I say this as a person who doesn't vote Democrat or Republican. I just don't like the politicians. I don't think the politicians are going to make your life better. Honestly, I just don't believe that. However, everybody should be critiqued. Everybody. I don't care how much you like the person. So whether you like Trump or not, this is a mistake he's making. He's at risk of really being remembered as one of the worst presidents of all time if this tariff thing goes bad, because because the tariffs are going to cause inflation, and the uncertainty is going to cause a recession. And so you could have inflation and a recession at the same time. We've talked about that a little bit before. Now, in terms of other things happening this week, there is a big jobs report that's coming out. That's going to be a big deal. And also, Elon Musk and Tesla are about to make some announcements on their numbers for the quarter, which is a big deal because Musk is a guy who's lost a lot of economic value in his companies because of his political involvement. I personally think that it's worth buying the dip, though. I think that Tesla long term is going to be a major player when it comes to the robots and everything else. And I wouldn't ignore that. I wouldn't just sit and let the politics stop you from participating. If he's going to make money, you might as well get some of that too. But that's up to you to decide how to participate. I'm not telling you what to do. I do not give investing advice ever. One other thing about this tariff thing is that it does create uncertainty for the Federal Reserve. They're sitting back and they're trying to figure out what to do, how to respond to it's not so much that they're responding to the tariffs. They're responding to the uncertainty. They don't know. They're like, okay, do we increase interest rates, to deal with inflation, or do we reduce interest rates to deal with the downturn? But reducing interest rates can be inflationary. So that's an issue. So one of the things I mentioned to you all before is I'm going to start buying some bond funds and diversify out a little bit into that space. I'll probably do that maybe today or tomorrow. I'm not sure. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to text out a list of different bond funds that I like. So make sure you get on the text list, and I'll send that to you today. Just text the word morning to the number 87948. It's right there on the screen, and you can also join our morning class. Also, those who are in the morning class, you get an exclusive invitation to our Economic Elevation Summit in Miami, which is May 9th and 10th. And that's where wealth builders get together to plan the future. That's where we plan the future of our community and of our families. And also, we just break down the most direct ways to build wealth. So get on the text list. I'll send that link out to you guys for the Economic Elevation Summit, which is going to be May 9th and 10th. What else is happening? Hit the thumbs up button, by the way. Please hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. And I hope you'll subscribe to the podcast on Spotify too. It's good. I think you're going to like it. All right. So here, right now, one other stat, I didn't know this, is that global markets have actually had the worst month since the COVID recovery. That's a big deal. So it says here, stock indices worldwide have gone down. So global stock markets all around the planet have actually dropped, and that's a problem. And this is most of it's due to fears of a global trade war. Usually, when you declare war on somebody, they declare war on you. You punch them, they're going to punch back. So even though Europe can't really punch back at the United States as hard as we can punch them, they're going to punch. They're not punks. Canada's really fighting. Mexico's trying to negotiate. And it's really a tough situation because America's the boss. As much as, some people don't want to accept that, America has really been very economically beneficial as a trading partner for a lot of these countries. And a lot of this, I think, really goes back to World War II, where we just kind of are like, look, just let us make money in your country and we'll give you defense and we'll give you all these other things. But I still think overall, though, that this trade war is probably the greatest threat to economic stability that we've seen in a while. The bond market is already starting to react. Treasury yields have jumped to a multi-month high. It basically, as traders are pricing in the higher inflation that's going to be caused by the tariffs. But it's interesting because sometimes the yields go down because the bond prices go up because everybody wants to buy bonds. So it's kind of an awkward sort of relationship there. And a lot of companies, Walmart, Home Depot, and Ford, have issued public statements and adjusted their forecast. They're warning their investors that they're going to have challenges with the supply chain because of these tariffs and things like that. They won't mention President Trump directly, but they're all thinking the same thing. They just right now we kind of have this this sort of gangster president that that people don't want to piss off, and so I believe that what they're doing is they're all trying to play nice with Trump, but they're sitting back and trying to politely say to him, like, look, bro, stop it. Please stop trying to please stop doing these things that are going to slow down the economy. And I want to show you all right now, Dow futures, which is an indicator of what the stock market is going to do today. Dow futures are negative right now. It is 300 points down. And ultimately today, so far in the morning, is not going to be a good morning in terms of stocks. And like you read here on CNBC, it says U.S. stock futures fell Monday as traders look ahead to Liberation Day for clarity on President Trump's tariff plans. Futures tied to the Dow dropped 326 points. A slew of tariffs previously announced by the Trump administration will go into effect on Wednesday, what Trump has called Liberation Day, including a 25% levy on, quote, all cars that are not made in the United States, end quote. The president's also expected to announce his plan for reciprocal duties aimed at countries that impose tariffs on U.S. imports. Uncertainty surrounding tariffs has weighed on equities, dragging stocks lower on Friday to end the last full trading week of March. Trump did little to assuage fears over the weekend, with the Wall Street Journal reporting Sunday that the president had in recent days pushed his advisors to get more aggressive when it comes to tariffs. In a Saturday interview with NBC News, Trump said that he could care less if foreign automakers raised their prices due to these new tariffs. Auto stocks were lower on Monday. Ford and GM were down around 1%. What's really interesting, and this is something that's important to point out about tariffs, is that if it's a matter of of Trump protecting U.S. industries by putting these tariffs on other countries, then you would expect that American automakers would see an increase in their stock price, right? You would expect Ford to benefit from protecting the economy from foreign cars. You would see GM benefit from that. What I think makes it difficult is that the supply chains for these companies are very complex. They get a lot of parts from other places, and that's going to increase the prices of those parts. Now, what is a good long-term strategy, a good thing that could come from the tariffs if they were done consistently and effectively? The U.S. government is not very consistent with anything. Just go back and read about the fall of Saigon, how we just abandoned the Vietnamese in the middle of the war, like because we're just a bunch of punks in that way. We don't really stick to stuff. Only thing America stuck to consistently is racism. That's the only thing that they've been consistent about. But anyway, if they were consistent about tariffs, then they could incentivize foreign companies and American companies to make products in the United States and create American jobs. I'd be willing to tolerate a little more inflation if that meant more jobs. I didn't like all the automobile jobs, leaving the United States and all that. I kind of feel like that hurt a lot of people. And I think ultimately that could be a benefit of tariffs, but you won't get that benefit. But right now you're getting all the pain, but you won't get much of the gain. Let's see. Who was the lady burned on the New York subway train? Yeah, I don't know. That's not in the scope of this discussion, but my heart goes out to that poor lady. That was absolutely terrible. Dr. B, can you mention a few bond stocks to invest in? Yeah, Latanya, I'll send out a list today. I have a list. I don't have any that come to mind immediately, but I have some that I like, and I'll text that out to you guys. Make sure you get on the text list. Text the word morning to 87948, and I'll send it out to everybody on that list. Morning to the number 87948 on your phone. Also, if you like stock options and you want to join the next cohort of our coin investors network, just go to drboycecoin.com and you can talk to someone about participating in that. A lot of people like it so far, so I'm going to keep on doing it. Since you guys like it, then I'm going to keep delivering that. So ultimately, in terms of what's happening right now, you have just a market that could keep going down. I think that buying some put options on the stocks that you own is a good move. I also think that buying the dip could be a good move long term. It may not be a move that's going to show results in the first week or two, though, and that's a big mistake a lot of people make. They think that if they make the right investing decision, it's going to be something that shows up, in their bank accounts in a week or two, and it just doesn't always work that way. Sometimes it takes a year or two for the move to actually make sense, or maybe 3 years, 4 years. So don't think that it's supposed to happen in a week. A lot of people think that, and that's just the wrong way to kind of look at it. So anyway, guys, I just wanted to pop in real quick and talk to you guys about what's going on with this market. The sectors that are most likely to be hit based on my research from the tariffs are automotive sectors, because we have a lot of Mexican auto parts, retail and consumer goods. So Walmart, Target, Dollar Tree, big importers from China are going to be hit by these tariffs. Also, tech companies, Apple, Dell, semiconductor firms may have some problems because the Chinese government doesn't play. They're gonna retaliate, and that could be an issue. The sectors most likely to benefit from the tariffs are U.S. based domestic manufacturers like U.S. steel, aluminum, and parts manufacturers, companies like Nucor, etc. Energy, oil and gas, they tend to outperform when inflation goes up. So energy stocks may be something to look into. So and by the way, for those of you that are looking for that number, I'm gonna put that on the screen so you guys have it. Give me 1 second here. All right. So so not everybody is going to be hurt by what Trump is doing. Just be clear. It's not hurting everybody. In addition to that, defense and aerospace companies are typically protected from the effects of tariffs, but may actually benefit if you start to see global tensions sort of rise. Companies like Lockheed Martin, they benefit from war and animosity and people hating each other and all that. And the Europeans now are building missiles and putting billions of dollars into defense. And that's going to be interesting to see how this new world order sort of gets reestablished. So ultimately, I would say that perhaps some bear spreads, if you're an options investor, some bear spreads might be beneficial if you think that things are going to go down. If you are bullish, you might look at a company like Nucor, which the ticker's NUE, or U.S. Steel, which is X. That's the tickers that somebody asked about. What about X stock? X, if you're talking about X, the platform, that's private. But if you talk about U.S. Steel, that ticker symbol is actually X. You can get some energy exposure with there's a ticker XLE, which is an energy ETF. XLE. If I say things quickly, if somebody can write them in the chat, that helps. That way, because someone usually comes back and they'll ask me to repeat it, and give me 2 minutes. I'll forget what I said 2 minutes ago. It's a mix between being like in the moment. I'm a very focused person, but at the same time, I'm 53, and you know how it is. You get 53, you start forgetting stuff. I'd be like, why did I come down to the kitchen again? I forgot there's food here, so it must have something to do with food. So that's me. That's my life. That's the life of a 53-year-old college professor. College professors are already absent-minded anyway. I think getting older just makes you more absent-minded. But anyway, what I'm going to do is let you guys know, remind you that the estate planning club is meeting tonight, actually. And that is where we get together with experts that can help us to plan our legacy, plan our future. So if you want to join our estate planning group, it's Legacy Investors for Tomorrow, LIFT for short, Legacy Investors for Tomorrow. So if you're interested in planning your estate, looking at things like the insurance policies, the trust, the wills, all these other things that allow you to transfer the generational wealth, feel free to go to drboycelift.com, and you can join us. And also, if you have kids or grandkids and you want your grandkids to get ahead financially, we have really good financial flashcards. I have some right here. Like, for example, our entrepreneurship flashcards are really cool. Like we define terms like, what is a startup? A startup is an entrepreneurial venture, which is typically a newly emerged, fast-growing business that aims to meet a marketplace need by developing a viable business model around an innovative product. What is debt? Debt is money borrowed by one party from another, which is used by many companies and individuals as a method of making large purchases. We talk about what is a minimum viable product. They call that MVP. That's where you make a product, you test it out, and then you go and you reinvest if it works. You don't just pour all your money into the product. That'll save you a lot of money when you start a business. Is remember, MVP, minimum viable product. What is seed capital? Well, seed capital matters because a lot of businesses can't get off the ground if they don't have any seed capital. What is a joint venture? What is a business plan? What is an incubator? What is venture capital? What is valuation? So these terms get defined because I think our kids are the best and they need to have the best. And so we manufacture Black privilege up in here. Privilege is something that you earn and you work for. And so if you want to take a look at our flashcards for kids, feel free to go to financialflashcards.com or our overall store is drboycebooks.com. So I'll put that URL on the screen so you guys can go and take a look if you want to. And also, we also have a Black Wealth Ambassadors program where if you like what you see and you want to buy our stuff cheap and sell it to people and start a business from that, that's fine too. You can start a family or get an investment club at your church and offer the products to people that join the club, right? So you can make money for yourself, and it supports the Black Business School. We are worldwide. We have almost 1 billion views on YouTube. We have millions of followers on various platforms, and we have about 200,000 students inside the school. So we're doing a real good job working with our PhDs and attorneys and experts to really create something amazing. So feel free to go to drboycebooks.com and take a look. All right, so have a good day, everybody. God bless you. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you all in class. If you're coming to our morning economic elevation class, I will see you then as well. So have a good day, everybody. God bless you. I'll see you soon. Peace. Hey, what's going on, guys? I hope you guys are having a great day. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and I wanted to hop in for a minute and say hello, and I hope you all are doing well. I hope you're having a great day. And I wanted to talk to you guys about this recession situation, whether or not we are in a recession. I think that's a good question to ask in terms of what's going on with this economy. A lot of people have talked about some of the things that have been happening in terms of the uncertainty that's been really rocking the stock market. The tariffs, the use of the word tariffs is a scary word because tariffs tend to be inflationary. And also, so when you mix the uncertainty with the tariffs, you're at risk of having an inflation-driven economy where you also are having a slowdown. So anyway, I hope everybody's doing well. Let me know if you can hear me okay. Let me know if I'm coming through all right. Give me a quick yes in the chat. I'm going to jump right to it. And so the real topic for today is whether or not we're running into a recession. Is there a recession on the way? I'd like to know. Give me a yes or no in the chat if you think that we're headed toward a recession or if you think it's still 50-50. A lot of economists pretty much are saying that there's about a 37% chance of a recession. I think the number is a little bit higher than that. And I was sitting and I was thinking about this today, and I said, how do we know that we're not in a recession already? How do we know that we're not already in the middle of a recession that we just, that we don't know about? And so what I decided to do was do a little investigating in order to determine what evidence there might be that that the recession could have already started and that we might be in the middle of it and not even know that. Because I can tell you, when you look at the data doesn't really speak to a strong economy right now. It doesn't say that America is in great shape. It says that we are kind of headed downward. And I had to put this on the back of the White House. The White House is pretty much doing this. So let me show you some evidence I saw, just some stuff that might make you think a little bit. I saw an article, and the article was basically related to credit card stuff. So let me see. I'm trying to share my screen here. Let me see. Hold on. Let me do something here real quick. There we go. So there's an article here that talks about layoffs. And this week, you should keep your eyes open, because there's going to be a jobs report coming out this week. And the jobs report will tell us a lot about the state of the economy. If you want to know what rocked your stocks the other day, it was the inflation numbers. The inflation numbers were garbage and pretty much said that inflation's higher than what we expected it to be. And that right there sent some alarm bells through the stock market. Now, right now, what also hasn't really been fully explored or fully investigated or fully looked into is whether or not there's a slowdown in other areas, whether or not the layoff numbers are growing. If they're growing, that's like a double whammy, because you also have some adjustments in consumer spending. The consumer has been pretty much the major driver of the stock market. The consumer has been the one who has been who's pretty much been carrying the economy on his or her back, and this is something that generally is true. I mean, something that can usually. Now, someone says my camera keeps bouncing. I'm sorry, Tanny. It seems like that really bothers Tanny a lot. Does my camera bouncing bother you guys? Are you guys having a hard time watching? Seems like Tanny's having a reaction over there. All right, so let me show you something that also is interesting. There's this thing called the yield curve. And if you look at the yield curve, you will see that the yield curve is it's okay, Tanny. I love you too. It's funny. It's funny it says Tanny Tantan, because Tanny, my sister's name is Tangy, and on her phone it says Tantan. So so anyway. So I thought maybe you were my sister messing with me today. But yeah, I'll fix the bouncing next time. Let's try to focus here. All right. So basically, this yield curve shows that it shows interest rates on bonds of different maturities. And if you go further out, typically the yield curve doesn't look like this. Typically the yield curve is actually sloping upward. And actually, in this case, you have what you call an inverted yield curve. And the way you know it's inverted is you notice that as you go out further, the yield starts to go down. That means that the longer term bonds have lower interest rates attached to them than the lower yields than the shorter term bonds. That's a problem. That's a big problem. An inverted yield curve is typically a strong predictor that there might be a recession on the way. So when you look at that yield curve, the question that might be asked is, well, what does a yield curve normally look like? So let me show you all what a normal yield curve is supposed to look like. Give me 1 second. Let me pull it up here. A normal yield curve looks a lot like this. So a normal yield curve is upward and it goes up to the right. The inverted yield curve is a traditional metric that can predict when a recession is either happening or it's on the way. And so that's yet another piece of information that got me thinking in terms of what's going on with this economy. Now, as we move forward, do me a favor, please hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. You're watching drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. If you like this type of stuff, if you like Black wealth content, I do have a podcast on Spotify. I have two of them. One's called the Dr. Boyce Breakdown, and the other one is called Dr. Boyce Daily Stock Market. So if you type Dr. Boyce in Spotify, you'll find me there. Also, tonight, we're going to do stock options training. So if you're interested in generating income by selling stock options, that's the main thing we focus on in this class. It's called Prime. Feel free to go to drboyceprime.com, drboyceprime.com. I think selling stock options is a great way to make money. So feel free to join us tonight. All right. So that right there is another piece of evidence that we could be in a recession already. Now here, let's keep going here. In terms of another piece of evidence that says that we could be in a recession. Let me pull this one up. This is one that really got my attention too. It has to do with that consumer. Remember I was telling you how consumers are the ones that have pretty much boosted up the economy because Americans love to spend money. Well, if you look here, this article, basically looking at data for the last quarter of 2024, it's from CNBC, and it basically says that that credit card delinquencies are higher, and also consumers are more and more readily making the minimum payments on their credit cards right now. That's a bad sign. That's not good news. It says here, let me read some of this to you. It says the share of active credit card holders just making the minimum payments rose to 10.75% in the third quarter of 2024, the highest ever going back to 2012. So you got to go all the way back over a decade, 12 years, to find numbers that high. The share balances more than 30 days past due rose to 3.52%, an increase from 3.21%, a year-over-year gain of more than 10%. Even with the rising delinquency rate, it is still well above the 6.8% peak, or well below the peak during the 08-09 financial crisis, and not yet indicative of serious strains. So that might be another number to keep up with and pay attention to as you're trying to figure out if we're in a recession or not. Again, I can't say that we are or are not for sure, but I can't say that these are things that are worth paying attention to. Now, should I buy bonds right now? I personally think bonds should always be in your portfolio. I have a list of bond funds that I like, and I'm sending them out to the students. If you want to get this list, text the word money to the number 87948. I'll also send you a link to a training I did called How to Make Money Without Working. So just text the word money, MONEY, to 87948, and you can get a lot of information from the Black Business School, stuff like that. All right. So anyway, guys, I wasn't gonna keep you long. I just wanted to pop in really quick and touch bases with you. Keep an eye out on the jobs numbers this week. That's going to be big. Also, the stock market, it had a rough day Friday. I'm a believer. I mean, based on history, typically a lot of times when the market has a really bad day, that means a good day could be on the horizon, or another really bad day. So no one really knows for sure. But don't be surprised if tomorrow's headline is the stock market explodes, big money's made, big numbers are high, because Friday was so bad. Usually the market overreacts a little bit and it comes back and it apologizes by putting money in your bank account. So, but again, there's no guarantee. No one can predict. Nobody knows for sure. People who tell you that they know, they're lying. They believe me. I'm a finance professor. We study this research consistently, and no one really knows what an individual stock is going to do, and nobody really knows what the market's going to do tomorrow. But based on the data, there is some chance that you could have a good day tomorrow. So feel free to jump in. I think everybody should be invested in stocks. If you haven't started investing in stocks, I love to persuade you to consider it. You can go to drboystockmarket.com and join with your whole family. One membership you can try for free, see if you like it. One membership will fit an entire family. So you can bring anybody and everybody in your family to class with us and join us. We do Stock Market Tuesdays every Tuesday. And I know thousands of you have signed up. So I know a lot of you are getting value from what we're doing. All right, so Tanny says, don't forget, thumbs up this video, please. See, Tanny, since you made me real sensitive about my camera bouncing, because I know what happens. I hit when I move around and I hit stuff, it makes it bounce. Then I started doing like this because I didn't want to mess it up. So I don't know if that makes a difference or not, but we're trying out the new setup and stuff like that. So I hope that you can forgive me for not doing everything perfect. So anyway, have a good day, everybody. God bless you, and I hope you have a wonderful day. And again, later on tonight, Dr. Alicia, who's the head of our Black Financial Therapy Department, she's doing a special session, a private session on jealousy and infidelity. You know, she's a relationship expert as well as a full professor of social work and a therapist. So if you're interested in that, you can actually get an invitation from her to her sessions by texting the word love to 87948. So we have a lot of stuff happening in the Black Business School, usually things happening every single day. We want to add value to your family, and I hope you'll hang out with us. All right, so have a good day, everybody. God bless you. I'll see you soon. Take care now. Bye-bye. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. So great to see you. Welcome to Money in the Morning, where we get together and we talk about building legacies and making our people great again. I want to let you all know, just right off the bat, we got a real important Black man in the building, and I'm gonna tell you, we got to put some respect on his name. His name is Mr. Jay Cameron, and Jay is a travel expert, and he actually took us to Egypt last year, and he's going to actually be taking us to Ghana this year. And first off, before I start, I want to ask my brother, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing well. How you doing, Dr. Boyce?
I'm doing great, brother. I'm doing great, man. Just working hard as usual. So first off, Maximum Impact Travel. That's the name of your company, correct?
Yes, you got it.
Okay. Just want to make sure I got it right. And you go everywhere. You've been just in this month. You've probably been to more countries in the last 4 to 6 weeks than most people see their whole entire life. Can you tell me about that again? Because you mentioned it before. I want everybody else to hear all the places you've been in the last few weeks.
All right. Well, this is what the calendar is looking like. Well, the I was in Morocco. Well, I'm back in Ethiopia now. Then I went to Morocco, but I'm back in Ethiopia. So we had a group in Ethiopia, had a group in Morocco. Now we have a group in Ethiopia. We also have a group in Colombia starting tomorrow. So I don't go on every trip. So Colombia, South America. We have a group starting there. We also had a group that just left Ghana yesterday. So that's the other part of it. So we have a lot going on. Then I'm going to hop over to Brazil. Then going to be back in Ghana. We have Senegal coming up. We'll be with the B1 family coming up in July. So looking forward to that. So yeah, it's a lot going on, but it's very rewarding and I get to meet some of the most fascinating people. And that's the thing. Because someone asked me, "Well, Jay, do you get tired or do you get bored or anything like that?" Sometimes to travel, you jet lag because I'm 3 hours ahead of where I was yesterday, which is 4 hours ahead of what I'm used to. But I get to meet fascinating people, and the people make it worth it. And no trip is the same because you meet unique people with unique perspectives, and that's just another part of the deposit that happens in my life, and then the deposit that I'm able to exchange with them. So yeah, so that's what's going on, Dr. Boyce, and we're looking forward to this experience in Ethiopia kicking off today.
Wow, man, that's amazing. Um, and I was asking you about this just a few minutes ago because it kind of came to mind. I almost get a sense that like since the election, there's been a lot of people who are exploring living in other places or at least visiting other places. And and you always hear, but it's interesting because every election, it seems like you hear a lot of people saying if so and so wins, I'm leaving the country, right? And so have you noticed just sort of a change in attitude about international travel since Trump got elected?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. As soon as it happened, as soon as he was elected, before the inauguration, the conversation changed and people were saying, listen, I need to understand what some my options, where I need to go someplace else because I don't want to be in the environment. They love the US, they love the people, they love the culture, but they just could not tolerate the political atmosphere that they could see coming. So where they were typically not thinking about relocating or taking their business elsewhere, they started exploring. And so I've seen it from everywhere, of course, on the continent of Africa, but I've seen it in Central and South America. Those are popular destinations, as well as Asia, and of course, Europe. But what I'm starting to see more and more of is a conversation within our community that has not been the conversation for most of my life, where people were really seriously exploring living abroad. So we're seeing a pickup in business from that perspective because people want to go and see and trust the people that they're working with because they don't know, they don't know what to expect from a cultural perspective. But what they're pleasantly surprised with in many cases is that the places that they're considering are have the amenities that they're used to, and they're able to accommodate the lifestyle that they're familiar with, and oftentimes on a lower at a lower price point. Now you can go spend the same amount of money elsewhere, but for a lot of people who are looking to extend their U.S. dollars, they're finding that living abroad is a viable option for them.
Interesting, interesting. So, and really, it's fascinating how, I'm almost I'm gonna say something that's gonna sound almost crazy. Is that in a way, let's assume that you just hate everything about what's going on with the Trump administration. Now, mind you, in this group, we got diverse people, right? Some people don't participate, some people are Democrats, some are Republicans, some are independent, and I respect all of that. Me personally, I voted for Cornel West, but let's assume that you don't like Trump at all. It almost is like at the same time, though, you would almost be grateful for the fact that his presence might have woken you up to realizing that you need to start doing something you should have been doing in the first place,
Oh yeah.
right? You see so many black people that are like, we got to build our own businesses. Well, you should have been doing it in the first place. We gotta get out of the country and get a passport. You should have had your passport. Like why does it take a threat? Why does it take that kind of discomfort? Why do you have to be sort of shocked into doing the things you have to do? Whereas before you were kind of like that frog sitting in the boiling water. You know that
Yeah.
story, the story about
Oh
the
yeah.
frog, how you put the frog
Uh,
in the cold water, you slowly turn the heat up and he just sits there and boils to death.
yes.
But now you've been dropped into the frying pan and you're like, we gotta move, we gotta move. Okay, so here's what I want to ask you about then on the other side of that. Um, One of my team members flew in to do some work with me this week, and she lives in Mexico. And we were concerned because we heard that it's been harder to travel overseas because there are countries that are angry at the United States and are making it inconvenient for you to travel. I know another friend that was going to come over and visit from Europe and they canceled their trip because they'd been hearing that Europeans were being detained at the border, things like that. Is that really happening, or is that just much ado about nothing? Maybe hype in media.
Well, I'm sure that it's happening on a micro level, but there are countries like Namibia that have put in place a visa for U.S. travelers. So there are some inconveniences. And a lot of times what it is these countries are simply trying to leverage to say, hey, listen, the U.S., you all are taking all the resources. You're funding every coup that's happening in the world. I mean, we got to do something. So the only thing we can do is make it difficult for you we got to find some leverage point. And really, that's what Trump is doing. Trump is, when he's barking, that's a leverage point. And so what he does in his negotiation strategy, he'll go into some place and say, we're going to put this tariff on it. And he may or may not have the ability to do it, but because Trump is a master of the public, he knows he's a marketer. He's a brand person. So he understands if he puts it out there, it doesn't have to be true. It could be a flat out lie, but somebody's going to run with it. And when they run with it, it's going to somehow become relevant. And so he understands if I say I'm going to put a 25% tariff on something or 50% tariff, somebody who doesn't understand his strategy is now going to spread that information, which gives him leverage. So a lot of these countries, all they can do is say, well, we're going to put a visa. The little bit of leverage that we have, this is what we're going to do. So it's a very interesting deal. And to your point a second ago, Dr. Boyce, when it came to, black folks waking up, when it came, yeah, we should have had our passports. We should have been researching options long ago. I mean, we could go back to 2008. Not being lulled to sleep to say that, okay, well, everything is all good. When in actuality, those should have been the times where we should have been building momentum for times like
Mm.
this. So we would be in a position of leverage to say, yeah, okay, you can try that. However, we can now take our dollars over here because we're in a position of ownership. We're in a position of influence because somebody else needs our resources in order to do what they need to do. So just like you're threatening to take funding away, we can threaten to take funding away. But if we're consuming and we're not investing and we're not building, then we're typically or usually in a position where we're asking someone to give us something instead of being in a position of saying no. No. Okay, well, if that's how you want to do it, well, then I'll do
Mm.
this. So it gets deep. This global economics is a deep thing, but people are waking up, and I think that's the good thing. And I'm seeing people adjust. I'm seeing conversations like this happen. I'm seeing platforms where investment is emphasized and travel is emphasized and just education overall, and they're talking about taking away education from people. I mean, how do you even, where does that even come from? Unless you're in a position of power to do it. So now what we're waking up to say, well, we have to educate ourselves, whether it be from a financial perspective, whether it be from a historical perspective, we have to take responsibility for our own education, our own finances, and our own resources. And then that will put us in a better position to leverage when these wild theories or wild proposals come out of the blue.
Well, and I do agree with you. I kind of think that it's always been interesting that there are people that still believe that education can be taken away from you when you live in the age of the internet, you live in the age of AI. Education, you got an entire university on your phone in your pocket. You have literally the best university in the history of the world in your pocket. So when people are like, "Well, I can't," I didn't get an education because they didn't give me one. That right there really speaks to limited thinking, right? So ultimately, I think that's concerning that some of us are still sort of stuck there. Um, and then also, man, I think a global education. I think that just going to other countries. I know I had so much fun in Egypt, and you and I talked about this before the conversation about how sometimes just getting out of the country for a while and breathing and kind of seeing uh, a different lifestyle, seeing all these other things that are happening all around the world that don't have to do with the White House, that don't have to do with our domestic issues, right? For Americans, I feel like that's especially good for Americans because I feel like we're a little self-absorbed. What do you think?
I agree 100%. Definitely self-absorbed and believing that the world revolves around the U.S. and what's going on in our world. When you step outside of the bubble, you find out that there's so much more going on outside of in the rest of the world. And most people are not even having conversations about what's happening in the U.S. Most people are focused on what's happening in their countries, focusing on what's happening in their part of the world. And it's refreshing because you can disengage from it, because I believe some of this stuff psychologically weighs on you. If you're in this thing, that's 24-hour news cycle in the US, and they're manipulating stories. There's fear happening here, and there's sickness here, and there's all these different things going on. When you step outside of that, it's really therapeutic. It's kind of like, wow, okay, there is a world outside of that. The world does not revolve around what's happening in the US and what, the latest thing that Trump said or the latest thing that this person said. And it just gives people a chance to unplug. And I think that's what folks are looking for. They're like, listen, I'm tired. I'm tired of the same old thing. The next person is afraid over here. The next person is going through this. I need a change of pace. I need to explore what else there is in this world. And that's what I see a lot of people doing too.
Mm. Well, everybody, if you just came in, I'm speaking with Mr. Jay Cameron. He's the CEO and founder of Maximum Impact Travel. And we are taking a group trip to Ghana this summer. And if you'd like to join the B1 trip to Ghana, you can text the word travel to the number 87948. Tomorrow night, Jay's going to do a presentation to discuss what's going to happen when we get to Ghana. So make sure you get on the text list. If you're interested, text the word travel to the number 87948. Also, just as a side note, I mentioned to you all that with the economy acting crazy and the stock market being a little bit shaky, I will put together a list of bond funds you could invest in, and I'm gonna actually put that list in the chat inside the private Zoom, so you guys will see it, and also I'll text that out for those of you that come to this class every day. So just be on the lookout for that. I'll probably pop it in there while Jay's answering the next question. So Jay, all right, here's the thing, right? You tapped on something I think is really important and interesting, and I think that the therapeutic side of travel. Um, I don't know if anybody else feels this way, I don't know if anybody has gone through this, but I can tell you, I have I've taken quite a few international trips, not as many as I would have expected to, but I've taken more than most, right? To this day, there's not one single international trip I've ever taken that wasn't transformative or immemorable in some way, right? I still remember the time I worked with the Research Institute in Germany. I remember my trip to Nigeria very vividly. I remember China really clearly. I remember Egypt last year. I mean, that was amazing. I remember like every single international trip I've ever taken, it was just like, oh, you know what I mean? Like it's weird, like I was coming out of a jail cell or something. I can't explain it. Um, and I just feel like that's the opposite of what we end up getting in America, where I really feel like this obsession with the politics in particular and the political divisions and all these little petty fights, it's a mental illness.
Yes.
And you see some people get overtaken by that mental illness where they're living in constant fear. They're always angry. They're always like, did you hear what Trump did today? Or did you see what these Democrats they did? And it's just like you going crazy. Like something's wrong with you because all you do is you're talking about this stuff, and you ain't even talking about your health. You ain't talking about your kids. You ain't talking about your future. All you're talking about is some people up in Washington who don't even like black people that much. I almost feel like that's a thing. Like I think I don't know how to diagnose it, but it seems like that's a thing. Like the mental health just
Oh
seems
yeah.
to deteriorate, especially when they get us riled up about the politics.
Well, I believe it's by design because if you can control someone's actions through their mental, if you can influence them and you can control their environment and have them focus on you, whether it be good or bad, then they're not focusing on themselves. So now they're wasting time. And by wasting time, wasting life, then life goes by and the same thing. It becomes habitual at that point because now it's the normal conversation and we gravitate towards other people who talk like that and think like that. And then there we are in that same little pool of people just kind of talking about the same old things, not really getting much done. But it's when you step outside of that. That's what I had to do. I got to a point in my life I was like, look, I'm gonna lose my mind if I just sit here doing this same old thing, for the rest of my life. And that's when I took my trip to Ghana for the first time. And that's when I started seeing all the different things that they were not telling us the truth, or, how they were skewing the story. And then that just kind of sparked something and said, let me go check out someplace else. I heard something bad about this place, but let me go see. And then I would go and see how the people were living their life, enjoying themselves, doing the same things we were doing as far as just living their lives. And it became refreshing and then it became empowering. And then I was educating myself because I was no longer in a construct that was telling me this is how you should think. This is what education is. I was now breaking the mold. And because of that, my stress level went down. It became
Mm.
therapeutic. Now you couldn't gaslight me anymore. Now I'm not sitting, you can't just tell me what I don't see is what I see because I know what I've seen. And so when it's almost like if you put they use the analogy of when you put a chain on a dog or elephant or something like that. And if that chain is around their neck or feet for a long period of time, you can remove the chain, but the animal will stay in that same place because they have been conditioned to be in that place for so long. And then when it comes to fear, Dr. Boyce, when a lot of times in our community, when it talks about travel, when we talk about traveling abroad, it's fear. Oh, they're going to get you and this bad thing is going to happen to you. And if you leave, somebody going to take you. You're going to get kidnapped and your organs going to get snatched. You know what I heard over there? They're going to take this from you and then can't see the stuff going on right in our own backyards. Can't see the drive-bys, the school shootings, the mall shootings, all the different things happening in our own neighborhood, but we're worried about what's outside. That's a condition too. And once I got past that, it was like, oh, the world, it's like now I'm in Ethiopia. I feel comfortable in Ethiopia. They told us it was sick flies, babies with big bellies and sick and flies, and everybody was poor and starving. Dr. Boyce, I'm going to tell you this. The place I have never seen a city in my life with as much development happening as Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. There is I counted at least 50 buildings going up last time I was here. 50 buildings. And I'm saying to myself now, if this is what poverty looks like,
Wow.
then I'm saying the cranes are everywhere. And I'm saying now, and I'm seeing the Europeans on the plane. I'm seeing the Europeans in the restaurants. I'm seeing the Asians in the restaurants. But guess who's absent? Us. Late to the party once again. And I just got tired of being late to the party. And I got tired of making excuses for being afraid. And that's what other people are waking up. They're tired of being late to the party. They're tired of missing out on opportunities. Just like when people take advantage of your stock class. They're tired of missing out on the stocks before, at the beginning. They had to find it out later after the stock has already reached its peak. People are now discovering that they have resources and they want to invest the resources. They just need credible people to lead them on a journey because it seems like, again, the level of mistrust that we have in our community, one towards each other, one towards others, it also creates a paralysis. And so as we're breaking that thing down, now we're starting to, and again, it takes a different kind of person to do it, somebody who's willing to take a risk. But now we're starting to see more and more people saying, I cannot do this anymore. It's affecting my physical health. It's affecting my mental health. And I really want to live the most fulfilled life I can. And that's where there are millions of people saying that they're tired of it. And that's where we are.
Mm. Wow. Yeah, I hear what you're saying about um the mistrust and just kind of what happens, when you're excited, you become pro-black and you say, okay, I want to participate with this business or that business, and then sometimes the shenanigans happen and you're like, oh man, here we go
Here we
again.
go again.
And one of the things I want everybody to know about why I enjoy working with you is, you have a first class operation. And Lamar Tyler, I think, was the person who mentioned you, and Lamar runs a first class operation. And I think sometimes as black men we get labeled because sometimes the most famous men in America, end up being men like Kanye West, who's out here just saying anything that comes to mind. I think he dressed up as a Klansman for his last interview,
Oh,
and
wow. I missed
it
that
makes
one.
us look, yeah, it makes us look like bozos. And I just think that we have to really sort of appreciate the fact in our community we've got a lot of really qualified, high quality professional people out here that are really building solid businesses, and we have to separate. We have to really separate all of us as black men. All of us ain't entertaining and out here just trying to get attention by being buffoons. Most of us are doing things that are very solid, reliable, consistent, and I think that's a template that needs to be explored and expressed and presented more, because I'm getting tired of people thinking I'm a clown just because you saw that other clown over acting like a damn fool on TV. That
Absolutely.
ain't me. I don't relate to that. They not like us. They not like us. They not like us. Don't
Absolutely.
I don't hate the guy. I feel bad for him, because I wish somebody could have talked to him about about some of this stuff. But still though, it ends up if making it challenging for all of us. It's almost like what women go through. You see black women being presented in any old kind of way, like almost like if you're a black woman, you're supposed to be twerking, you're supposed to be, doing whatever the entertainers do. And but if you go to Fly Nubian Money, where the ladies do their show every day, these are, real estate professionals, attorneys, medical doctors, therapists, high quality professionals. And but what's interesting is that the response is not the same. There's not as much excitement about seeing a black woman who's actually got her stuff together. It's like, no, I want to see the drama queen. I want to see somebody on a balloon popping show or doing something crazy and ridiculous, right? So I think to some extent, what I really like about your business and what you is not just the fact that doing business with you is great and you run a great company, but I feel like it's representing something bigger than just the business. It's really, I think, it's reminding the world that we're human, that we we're not all trying to be basketball players and rappers, or 50 years old living like you're still 25. Like I want to
Right.
be a grown man. I want to run a business. I want to do something good for my community. I want to lead my family to a better place. I want to support those who are doing the same. So I just want to say congrats, man, on the fact that you built this great company, because I nobody's doing what you're doing the way you're doing it, in my opinion. So I have a lot of respect for you for that.
Well, thank you, and I have a lot of respect for you as well. It's something that I recognize as being a grown black man is that I have a responsibility,
Mm,
and sometimes whether it be fair or unfair, it is still the responsibility that I have because I've grown up with the narratives. I've seen all of the different things that they've said about us, the low expectations, and sometimes subconsciously those low expectations can even be internalized. But
mhm.
once I started recognizing the potential that I had, and that's why I had to be very intentional about changing my environment because sometimes if you're in an environment that gives you um, low expectations, it's up to you to determine. If I felt that there was something more, I didn't know travel was going to be it, but I knew that there was something more to the resources, whether it be the personal resources, the intellectual resources that I had. And I also understood going into business. I've seen the shenanigans, and I know the games that people play out here, and I know the expectation once again. So when I sat down and said, "Okay, how am I going to do business?" Well, I want to make sure that I do business with integrity. And I want to make sure that I do business in a way that inspires other black men, whether it be young or old, to get into business. You don't have to be on hustle time. You don't have to be out here trying to get over on the next person. You can make it where everybody wins, just like I see in the Jewish community. I went to a school in DC called Georgetown Day for my elementary years. And I watched how they flowed and I watched how they operated. Then I went to DC public schools for a little while. And I see the lack of community in one environment and the strong community in another environment. And I said to myself, I said, this is very interesting because this is all about environment. But now then, when, I go back into my early 20s when I was a recruiter for Showtime at the Apollo, and that experience and throwing parties and concerts and having to organize different events and create these different environments for people, and running a summer camp for 12 years and taking care of the children in our community. Now, we're particular about our children. Now, you can't, you don't mess around with black folks' children, but to successfully have imparted into our children for 12 years and given them exposure to entrepreneurship and performing arts and life skills and all of those different things. Dr. Boyce, it would be out of my character to have anything else other than a business that represented us. And then the last point here is that oftentimes when it comes to black men, our stories, especially black men who have been on the grind, working, doing what they need to do, taking care of business, our stories are oftentimes not heard. Most people don't know how many brothers out here who are really doing it, how many brothers out here with 6, 7, 8-figure businesses, how many brothers who are not bragging about everything that they have. They're taking care of their responsibilities, empowering the community, doing what they need to do. And guess what? We might not get all of the PR that we should, because it's easy to put somebody up that's doing some nonsense because that feeds the narrative, just like the narrative about the continent of Africa. Everybody's sick and dying and poor and corrupt. So if that's all you see, then you think the brothers are the same way. Everybody's going to jail on drugs, running around, doing all these different things, when there's a group of brothers out here that's not doing that, that's about their business. And what we're doing now, slowly but surely, that narrative is changing.
Yes, yes, yes. And speaking of changing narratives, I hope everybody got something from this discussion, and I encourage you to change your narrative. Don't nobody write your story but you. You write that story, and it has to be an original story. Don't write the same story as your mother, or the same story as your father, or the same story of your drunk ass uncle. Right? God gave you the ink pen, and you need to do all the writing in this story, because sometimes people try to write our stories for us, and I said no. I'm snatching that pen out your hand, because I'm gonna write the story for Boyce Watkins. I'm not. You know, this it's not going to be influenced by something that does not represent what I wanted to represent. So anyway, I want to say thank you to everybody, to Jay as well, for joining us today. And I want to let everybody know, if you want to travel with us to Ghana, a couple things you can do. Number one, text the word travel to the phone number 87948. So pick up your phone, text the word travel to 87948. Also, tomorrow night, Jay's going to do a full presentation on the trip to Ghana. It's an informational session. You can ask 1,000,001 questions about the trip. Bring your family, bring your children, bring everybody, so you can get full information. Our trips are not just for travel for fun. They are, you're going to have a ton of fun, but you're also going to learn. We're going to explore. We're going to add some B1 elements, some Black Business School training, some economic angles as well. So it's great for the whole family. So Alicia and I will be there. And if you want to join us this summer, then this will be a time to get information on that. So text the word travel to 87948. Also, last little housekeeping item, two things. One, those of you that want to join us for the Economic Elevation Summit in Miami, May 9th and 10th, I'm inviting y'all. I'm not inviting like everybody and their mama. I'm inviting y'all. So this is the chance to get together in Miami. I'm going to text that link out to join us in Miami, just make sure you're on the text list for this class. Text the word morning to 87948, and then you'll get that link later on today. And I'll put the link in the chat also for those of you that want to go ahead and get your ticket to Miami today. And Jay, actually, I know you're gonna we wanted you to come to Miami, but I know that the date changed and that kind of threw out the travel, but that's okay because you will still be able to join us virtually, which is really cool. So I would say thank you, man. It's always a pleasure to see you, brother.
It's always a pleasure to see you as well. To Dr. Alicia, I said hello, and everybody at the B1 family. And hey, Janelle, somebody in the chat I actually went to high school with. So hey, what's going on, Janelle? So
From high school, are you serious?
yeah. I'm old
That's
school. I've been
crazy.
around for a
That's
while.
hilarious. I love that. I love that. Well, back then they didn't want me. Now I'm hot. They all on me.
All
Is that
on me.
like
You got to
Mike
bring some
Jones?
Mike Jones on it. Bring Mike
I
Jones.
know. The girl from high school. How you doing? I saw you on TV the other. I'm playing. Not that this, I know that didn't even happen. Well, I don't know. I don't even know if that was male or female. So, but either way though. But anyway, everybody have a great day. God bless you, and we'll follow up on some other stuff with the stock market and stuff like that a little bit later. As you know, the market's been kind of acting a little crazy, but there's stuff out there. So feel free to take a look at that list of bond funds because we could be possibly going into stagflation. So if you want to protect your money, these will be assets you want to look at. So again, thank you very much, Jay, and
All
God
right.
bless you, everybody. Have a great day, and we will see you all soon. Take care now. Bye bye.
All right. See you tomorrow, everybody.
All right. So, welcome to Money in the Morning. It's so great to see everybody. I hope everybody's doing well. I hope everybody's feeling good. In case you don't know, Money in the Morning is where we get together every morning, 7 days a week, and we work on our finances. We don't just complain about our economic problems, we fix them. We don't just complain about generational curses, we make them better. We make sure that our kids are going to have an inheritance, that they know that their parents and grandparents love them and that we thought about them. We're not leaving our kids hanging out to dry, and we're not leaving ourselves hanging out to dry. We know that preparation is the key to success. We also know that prevention, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So anyway, I hope everybody's doing well today. You know, it's funny. Yesterday I kept saying it's Sunday, it's Sunday, it's Sunday. So now it really is Sunday. I hope I'm right about that. Let me know if I still got the date wrong. And so yeah, I felt like today would be a good day to talk about some of the stuff that I seen online that really made me dig into the data and find the answers and the solutions. And before I do that, really quick, I want to remind everybody that you guys know we have a world-class Black financial therapy department in the Black Business School. It's the first ever Black financial therapy department created by scholars that we know of, and my wife is the head of that, and they meet every Sunday. And so Sunday night tonight, she's going to actually have another meeting. She does group therapy for those that want to heal, for those that want to do better. And if you are interested, you can text the word love to the number 87948. So text love on your phone to 87948, and my wife will send you a link inviting you to join us tonight in the group therapy session because we got to heal. If we don't heal, we're going to have the same problems that we've always had. So anyway. How many of you, give me a yes or no, how many of you have seen this 50-50 conversation in relationships where there's a conversation about whether or not men should pay all the bills or the majority of the bills and stuff like that? Let me know if you've seen some of this. And this came to mind because I got invited on this show hosted by this lady named Kendra G, who does a lot of interesting relationship stuff. And you know, my wife's a relationship therapist, and I did write a book called Financial Lovemaking back when I was on the faculty at Syracuse. And so when I wrote Financial Lovemaking, I became very intrigued with how money shapes relationships. And what happened was I started to know the difference between ideas that are politically correct versus ideas that are actually correct, right? I learned that political correctness is not always the right way to live your life, that it will pull you into a ditch and have you doing things that don't make a lot of sense. You know, I just looked at the data and I said, okay, I get it now. The research says there's thousands of years of evolutionary biology that says that women like men that have a little bit of money. They don't want they're just not as typically on average, especially a woman who needs money. A woman who doesn't need money might change, but a woman who needs money is not going to be as attracted to a man who's broke as she is to a man who has resources, and it's not politically correct for her to say that. It's not, or just like it's not politically correct for men to say, hey, young, beautiful women, they're appealing. Like we're supposed to act like it doesn't matter, but it does matter. And so when I would go through the research, I remember just being consistently astounded by how much of the conversation was built around just people saying what they're supposed to say instead of saying what they really want to say. And so the first thing I'm going to say is I'm going to ask you all a question before I even do this. Give me a yes or no. How many of you think that the 50-50 relationship is one that can work if that's what people want? And give me a yes if you think that going 50-50 is cool. If the woman pays half the bills, the man pays half the bills. Give me a yes if you think that's okay. All right, so I'm looking at your answers. Okay, okay, all right. Well, I'm gonna say that my first instinct is that I think it's okay too. I'm not mad about it. I think people make their own decision. But here's the thing: what I want you to consider is the research. Ooh, buddy, and what the research really says, I can summarize this part, is that it kind of says that if you do this, it goes back to a saying that we had in economics that there's no such thing as a free lunch, that basically you think that you're getting the same thing. It's like if I go to Walmart, I bought a watch at Walmart, and I thought that, and the watch looked just like a watch I saw in an expensive jewelry store. And here I was, tempted to think, well, gosh, I got this Walmart watch that's just the same as the watch that was $5,000 in the expensive jewelry store. And after the watch fell apart in about 3 months, I learned that that just wasn't the case, that my Walmart watch was not the same as the expensive jewelry store watch. Do you get what I'm saying? Right? And so sometimes things may look the same on the outside, but they're not quite the same on the inside. You might think you're getting, you might think you've traded your filet mignon for McDonald's hamburger meat and that that's okay, but you learn that there's just a difference. Doesn't mean that you can't eat McDonald's. Some of y'all do, and it's okay. I hear bad things about it health wise, but shoot, who am I to judge? And and so it's kind of the same thing here, right? And what I've concluded from the research, and I'm gonna read some of this data back to you, but I'd like to summarize it is while women in the surveys, women will say 50-50 doesn't matter to them. And sometimes they might say it because it's politically incorrect to tell the truth. And some of them may say it because that's what they truly believe. They truly believe, hey, you know what? Hey, if a man doesn't, if he's broke, then that's okay with me. I'm not bothered by that. And I'm going to challenge that a little bit and say, I think that there might be a little bit more to it, and maybe more to it that you might not be willing to admit. So rather than me yapping on about it, let me just pull out the data here. It was really, really interesting to research this. And I told you I became intrigued with this when I wrote Financial Lovemaking when I was on the faculty of Syracuse. You can have the book for free, by the way. Just go to boyceandalicia.com and there's a free e-copy there. You can have the e-copy for free, or you can buy it at drboycebooks.com if you want a copy like sent to your house. Okay, so here's one thing that is heavy. Um, Studies show that women in 50-50 financial arrangements report a 30% higher level of resentment compared to women whose partners cover a larger share. That resentment often shows up not just in arguments, but in intimacy, trust, and long-term satisfaction. So as politically incorrect as it may be, and this is according to a study at Cornell University, by the way, as politically incorrect as it may be to say, there appears to be something latent. There's something hidden. A latent variable in economics or in statistics is basically it's something that has an impact, but you don't see it, right? Like a ghost or like a spirit. It's like there's something beneath the surface that you're not talking about, or maybe you don't even know it's there, that's really impacting the outcomes and you just don't know what that is. And that happens a lot, right? What I think is this latent variable that basically says that even though that a lot of women might tolerate 50-50 and choose 50-50, maybe because they love the man and they want to be flexible, but the studies seem to show that they're just not happy with that. I don't know. How many of y'all think that that makes sense? How many of y'all think that do you think that that's nonsense? Or do you think it's dollars and cents? Do you think it's real? Maybe it's almost like if you ask a man like, well, do you care if your girlfriend has sex with you or not? And he might say, no, sex is not that important to me. That's not the most important thing in my relationship, right? But then she says, okay, well, I'm gonna go celibate. And then he's like, okay, sure, no problem. And then next thing you know, they're fighting over fried chicken and like why did you shut the door so fast? I hate when you shut the door so fast. You shut the door, but I always shut the door like this. No, you don't. You shut the door. You be slamming the door, girl, woman. What's wrong with you? Right? Remember that movie? I think I Love My Wife with Chris Rock, where he wanted to cheat, but he didn't want to admit he wanted to cheat. He wanted to go see that other girl. So he came home and he started fighting with her over chicken. And he was like, chicken? Every day, all you do is make chicken. I'm gonna grow feathers and start clucking. I want some duck. Right? So, but he wasn't really the chicken. It wasn't the chicken. It was bigger than the chicken. Right? So you might think you fighting over the chicken, but really, you're fighting over the fact that his penis may be too small, right? Or you think you're fighting over the way she shut the door, but really, you're upset because this relationship is expensive or whatever, right? My father used to jokingly say that he was married 50 years, so I think that gives him some kind of credential in this. I mean, most people can't do that. And he said he believes that all arguments stem back to three things: money, sex, or kids. He said those are the three things that you think you're arguing about something else, but really you're arguing about money, sex, or kids. That I don't know. How many of y'all would agree? I don't know. I've only been married 4 years, so which I'm kind of proud of that. Our anniversary is coming up in a couple months. So how many of you would say that theory is true, or how many of you would say it's more complicated than that? That there's more stuff than just money, sex, and kids. Yeah, I feel like money, sex, and kids comes up a lot. It may not be the majority or the only thing, but it's definitely like high up there, right? And anyway, let me read a little bit more. This is really good stuff. And I think it's and let me tell you why this matters. We've talked about this, right? In terms of how relationship success links to economic success. Let me give you some interesting stats about millennials and people under the age of 40. If you're under 40, they're struggling. They're really having a hard time figuring things out because they've been listening to white people for too long. That's my theory. That's my cynical theory. You don't need to stop listening to white folks. Start listening to your grandpa. Listen to your grandmother. Like they can give you some good advice. Y'all are trying to integrate and you black. You still gonna be black whether you just cause you got the DEI job. That don't mean you ain't black no more. And so here's what it says about millennials and Gen Z. Number one, even though the divorce rate is um, around 40 to 50% generally, here's what's happening with Gen Z and millennials. They are not getting married. Their rate of marriage has dropped by nearly 30% since 1990. So people, rather than getting married and getting divorced, they're just not getting married at all. So, and that's fine. That's no, I mean, it's people's choice, right? But they're choosing to just navigate life solo. So you'll have 37-year-olds who still operate as if they're 27-year-olds. And like I met a new guy, I met a new girl, and we're gonna date a year, and then we're gonna meet another guy next year, another girl next year. And that's interesting. I'm curious to see how that plays out because 25 years from now, when you're 72 years old, you're not going to be going on a date every other week. You're not going to feel like having sex every other day. You're going to be tired. Maybe you're going to have cancer. You'll be in the hospital. That's where I saw my parents get to that stage. I remember my father being young and energetic and playing basketball. And now, walking is hard. You know what I mean? Like, so he ain't out chasing women. That's not of interest to him, right? So I wonder if people have prepared, if they're investing in their lives to prepare for the next stage of life, or if they're living this current stage as if that's all that there is, right? I live as a 35-year-old because I think I'm gonna be 35 forever, and I forget that no, I'm gonna be 45, then 55, then 65, and so optimization, which we talked about a lot in mathematics, optimization of your life really comes down to making investments that optimize multiple parts of your life, not just the current. Delayed gratification is an important concept in investing, and it's an important concept when you talk about investing in your life. So if you can't delay gratification and all you see is the present in the current moment, and your consciousness can extend beyond the current moment, then typically not only will you make relationship choices you'll regret, you'll probably make financial choices you regret. So a lot of times I make that same argument, this argument that people fail in relationships for the same reason they fail in their finances. Typically, people that you see that are financially secure, they're also secure in their relationships. They have the kinds of relationships that build wealth, all kinds of wealth in their lives. People that are not doing well in the relationship category are typically not doing well in the financial category because those two are heavily connected. It's not always perfectly correlated, though. It's not perfectly correlated. For example, I know that I remember when I was a single man, things were cheaper. It was cheaper to buy things as a single man because you go to McDonald's and instead of it costing you, $25 to eat because you're feeding a woman and a child, it would cost like $10 because you're just feeding yourself. But what I did find is that once you're able to find a partner and a teammate that is also productive the same way you are, it it can make things easier to afford. So when my wife wanted to buy her little cherry red Mercedes, I went with her to the dealership. And I know that, I'm not a poor man, and I know that there would be plenty of women that would love to go to the Mercedes dealership with me, and I'd be the one writing the checks. I went there and I didn't do anything. I didn't talk to the dealer. I didn't pull out my wallet. I didn't have to sign anything. She did everything on her own. She paid for every single piece of that. And I was watching college football the whole time and literally just being the supportive partner. And I said, this is amazing that I'm actually sitting here and we're gonna drive away in a Mercedes and I don't have to do anything. That was a cool type of I was like, this is cool. Okay, so this is why some people get married to, because I think, but you have to pick the right kind of person, right? You have to kind of know what you're signing up for. So anyway, but even I didn't even know I was signing up for that. I didn't know, I'd never lived in a world where I would go do something like that and the person wouldn't at some point ask me to contribute financially. So really, the teammate thing I think works really, really well. But the hard part is that you got to get along with your teammates. So some people, and I think that trauma plays a part in this. We just say, screw it. I'd rather do it all by myself because I can't trust anybody that much. And I think that there's a benefit in the flexibility, but there's a challenge in when you run into a problem. Like if your primary income source gets killed, you're there by yourself and you're stuck and you're struggling. I have a friend who actually, she's not a friend, she's a distant cousin, and she runs a cancer treatment center or like a house for black women, single black women who get cancer, like over the age of 50. And because they don't have anybody there to kind of help. And sometimes it's no fault of their own. I'm not blaming anyone, but it's I think about when my mother went through her cancer, it really helped that my father was right there with her the whole entire time. So, but there's a trade-off though. You got to put up with people, and that's kind of a hard thing to do if you haven't sort of worked on harnessing those skills. Now, here's another study. The Pew Research report says that only 53% of adults are currently married. This compares to 72% in 1960. So people are doing things alone and by themselves. I heard someone describe that they believe that that was a financial psyop on the American people. They believe that convincing people to be single for families to break up might have been a psyop. Now, I don't know. This is a conspiracy theory, but there is an argument to be made that the economy does better when everybody's scrambling by themselves. Because if you are single, you're more likely to have to go to work than if you are married to someone who makes enough money to take care of both of you, right? Where one of you can stay home with the kids. So they don't want the wife staying home with the kids. They want the wife in the factory. They want the wife in the office with the husband. They want everybody coming into the office because that makes the economy stronger and more productive. Also, you're spending more money. The biggest driver of economic activity in America, write this down. The biggest driver of economic activity in America, it's not the banks, it's not the government, it's not the Fed, it's the consumer. The consumer is the biggest driver of the economy. The GDP in America is super high because America has done an expert job of training people to spend, 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 spend. In 2006, I did a research stint with the Center for European Economic Research in Mannheim, Germany. I went to Germany for 6 weeks, and I had German colleagues the entire time. We were doing research on all kinds of stuff. And one of my colleagues came in, I'll never forget, and he said he showed me data. He literally came in and said, what's wrong with you Americans?" And I said, "Well, I don't know. What's wrong with you Germans?" Like I was like, "What? I don't know. What are you talking about?" And he said, "Well, I was looking at Z data, and Z data says that in Germany." He said, "We make less money than you do. We pay more in taxes than you do, but we save 5 times more money than you do." How crazy is that? How crazy is that? See, a lot of people say they can't save because they don't make enough money. No, you don't. You might make you probably make enough money. You probably just have a financial addiction that has been pressed upon you. Think about this. They make less money than us. They pay more in taxes than we do. That's a double whammy. You're making less money and you're paying more taxes and you're saving 5 times more than Americans. Do you get what I'm saying? I need to sit on that point for a minute because I need y'all to hear this. Do you understand that that's an issue? How many of y'all understand that that's a problem? So Americans are addicted to spending money. We're addicted to consumption. That's what they call it, consumption. And so when you spend that, it makes me dissect and go back and reverse engineer everything that they do with you from the time that you're born, from the time that you're a little kid, especially when you're black. All you're trained to do is spend your money. You go make your money and then you go blow it. Just got paid Friday night. And you at the club already spending half of your paycheck, right? They got music around there, right? Right? Remember that song? I'm riding around and I'm getting it. I'm riding around and I'm getting it. I'm riding around and I'm getting it. It's mine, I spend it. It's mine, I spend it. Y'all remember that song? That was, I think that song was 2 Chainz. Is that right? Was it 2 Chainz? I don't remember. But anyway, so they indoctrinate that into your freaking music. They teach you got rappers. They don't you don't never see rappers saying, well, I'm conservative with my money. I save and invest my money. I'm riding around and I'm saving it. I'm riding around and I'm investing it. I'm riding around and I'm building it. It's mine, I keep it. It's mine, I keep it. You make a song like that, they're gonna call you a simp. They're gonna call you a square. They're gonna call you a dummy. Well, no, no, dummy. You're the dummy when you run around bragging about how much money you have given away to other people. When you talk about the fact that your baby ain't got no trust fund, ain't got no financial security, ain't got no generational wealth because you're so stupid that you're just throwing your money up in the club, putting it in a stripper's butthole because you somehow want to impress other dudes who are as dumb as you. That's insanity. That don't make no damn sense. That's absolutely crazy. And women, y'all spend money too, so don't think that y'all off the hook either. You know what I'm talking about. This is a stupid culture, but it's not their fault that they're stupid. It's not their fault that they're stupid, right? Stupid people, sometimes they don't know that they're stupid, and it's not their fault that they're stupid. You got to be trained to be stupid. So they were trained, smart people train stupid people to be as stupid as possible. And I'm not trying to be mean. It's mean Sunday. I don't, but sometimes I get tired of. I ain't gonna lie. Sometimes I'm just like, this is just dumb. Like I'm not following this. This is not black. You telling me this is black culture that being broke is black culture, that giving your money away is black culture, that leaving your kids hanging out to dry is black culture? That's insanity to me. That makes zero sense whatsoever. So anyway, but that's the thing though. They don't just do it to black Americans, so they do it to everybody. But we just really get hit hard with it. We get hit hard. Like the worst things that they can market, they market those things to us, right? Like they just like ain't nobody protecting this community. Their politicians don't give a damn about them. The Congressional Black Caucus ain't gave a damn about black people ever, right? So we can come in here and we can literally financially rape the hell out of these people, and ain't nobody gonna say a word. We're gonna set up. In fact, and then we're gonna let the immigrants come and set up little shops in every black neighborhood and suck money out of the community. And anybody who speaks up about it and says we need to be black first and protect our own, then we're gonna call them radical and a hotepper. And I get called things like that. People make fun. Hey, well, you're radical. I'm like, what do you mean? I'm radical for doing the same damn thing that you're doing? Right? See that's nonsense. That's another piece of the psyop. They get you looking at black people. You will be stunned at how many mainstream Negroes are scared of people like me. They are afraid of people. Well, I can't associate with Boyce Watkins because he's why not? Why not? I was a college professor at Syracuse. I'm a law-abiding citizen. I'm a good man. I try to be a good man who loves his wife and loves his family. What makes me dangerous in your mind? What makes me dangerous? Is it because I'm not signing up for the dumb for the stupid stuff? No, I'm not signing up for any of that stuff. And the idea that you are afraid to talk to independent-minded black people, those who want to build our own businesses, those that want to build our families, those that want to build our institutions, tells me that you've probably been infected with a mental illness. That mental illness is deep. Now, I don't care. I mean, I'm not gonna get mad. I mean, I don't need any more friends. I got plenty of friends. But the idea that somehow that this is scary for you is very scary to me. It's like, well, what feels safe for you? Oh, I know what feels safe for you. dying with so much student loan debt that you're never going to ever recover and your children would have no generational wealth. What feels safe for you? Working with white people who disrespect you, mistreat you, and put you under so much stress that you drink yourself to sleep every night. Um, maybe it feels comfortable for you to be in consistent financial insecurity to the point where you have night sweats and you're scared to death of losing your black job. Is that what feels safe for you? Is that what feels good to you? Because if that's what feels good to you, then you probably have Stockholm syndrome. You do. You do. It's Stockholm. I get it. I used to have that too. I just cured myself when I was about 35 years old. So at the end of the day, when you're talking about, security, economic success, and everything else, if you don't have the courage to think outside the box, then you will be locked in the box. The box will be a lock box, and it's a lock box for your mind, not just your body, and a lock box for your finances. You won't have anything to give your little daughter because they're gonna take every nickel out of your pocket because they got a whole damn system built. See, when people talk about systematic racism, they get it caught up in the symbolism. Oh, he called me the N-word. I don't care what he called me. The systematic racism is how the system is wired and designed to take everything you've got. The systematic racism is how the system is built to work you to an early grave and make sure they take every nickel out of your pocket before they do that. The systematic racism is how the grocery store will sell you donuts, fatty, sugary donuts. They'll call them Negro donuts or something, or hip hop donuts, and you will eat the fatty, sugary donuts in the front of the store, and then they'll sell you your black butt diabetes medication in the back of the store. Because they're like, we're gonna make money making you fat, and then we're gonna make money selling you Ozempic or selling you the diabetes medication that you're gonna need. And then we're gonna send you over to our other partners over in the healthcare system who are gonna drain every penny out of your pocket with numerous surgeries and medications that could have been prevented so that we make sure you die a pauper. We want you in that casket with your pockets best be empty. We're gonna rob your grave before you even get in it. They're gonna bury you with the suit you wearing. That's all you're gonna have. If you don't believe me, I want you to take a moment and I want you to look at how many black people die every year and leave zero inheritance. Tell me I'm lying. Tell me I'm lying. How many of you in here got more than $50,000 as an inheritance from any person in your family at any point? You got a lot of relatives. You have a lot of uncles, aunts, parents, grandparents, cousins, and not one of them left you more than 50 grand. You don't work your whole life and you can't leave $50,000 to the kids. I'm not making fun of anybody. I don't want to sound mean. Sometimes I sound mean and I don't mean to do that. But really, I mean it's crazy. And don't think that white people have it all figured out because they get punked too. They get suckered in too. So this ain't even just a racial thing. They just target you more because you're more vulnerable. They target you more because you don't have any protection. You don't have any political support. Your politicians, they look like you, but they're being paid by somebody else and they work for the person that pays them. It's like if I'm hungry and I got a cousin who works at Wendy's and I go to my cousin at Wendy's and I say, "You got access to all that food. You should feed me." Well, if Wendy's has a policy that says you better not feed your relatives or you'll get fired, how much food do you think my cousin's really going to give me? I mean, some of your cousins might really be down. They might sneak you some food out the back or something. But a lot of cousins are gonna be like, no, I am your cousin, but I've got my Wendy's uniform on, so therefore I must represent the brand, and I have to do what my manager tells me because they got cameras. A lot of our politicians are, to me, like Wendy's employees. They show up black. I'm black like you, brother. But when you look at who's paying their bills, the money rules. He who has the gold makes the rules. They're going to serve their boss before they ever serve you. And unfortunately, what happens is that the interests of their boss and your interests tend to be conflicted sometimes. So anyway, let me keep going. Let me keep reading here. And I'm gonna give you some more stats. By the way, I'm gonna send you all a list of because this recession is probably gonna be on its way. I keep reading more data telling me that the economy is going south, inflation's going up, which is stagflationary, which is very, very bad. I don't know why the Trump administration is doing all this. I only thing I can think of, because I don't think that they're crazy enough to want to lose money. Um, is that I'm thinking that what they're trying to do is make a strong stand on tariffs, and then they are going to come back with like some tax cuts and deregulation, which tend to stimulate the stock market. That's what I'm holding out for. I'm crossing my fingers and hoping that they're not just stupid enough to risk Trump being remembered as the worst president in American history. And I say this as a person who doesn't, I didn't vote for Trump or Biden. I voted for Cornel West. That I like to make that clear because I get accused of being a liberal. I get accused of being a conservative. I'm neither one. I don't believe that everything needs to be conserved, but yet I don't believe everything needs to be burned to the ground. So I'm sorry if you want to put me in a box. I won't fit. I'm too fat for a box. My wife can tell you that. So here, my fingers are crossed, hoping that what they're gonna do after April 2nd, they got this thing on April 2nd where they're gonna make all these announcements about tariffs. I believe after that, I'm hoping they're going to put that stuff to bed and then start focusing on the things that can stimulate the economy. Because right now, you had the stock market really drop a lot the other day because you had high inflation numbers, and then also coming out next week will be the jobs numbers. And if the job numbers are bad, then you have a bad combination. You have high inflation and a bad economy. Those two typically don't come together. That's like I don't know. That's like losing my job and losing my wife on the same day, even though they could be correlated, right? They shouldn't be. It's like a double whammy. So the economy is doing some weird stuff, and it's a self-inflicted wound. And somebody asked me, they said, "Well, do you think?" Because they were into the politics, they're like, "Well, do you think if Kamala was in office, this would be happening?" The answer is no, it wouldn't be. It wouldn't be. So that's a point for the Democrats for sure. But then again, there's things Democrats do that I never liked either. So it's kind of a thing, right? Long story short, I'm gonna send you all. One of the things that people do when the economy starts to act weird like that is they invest in bond funds. So I'm gonna send you a list of my favorite bond funds, and I'll text that out to you. So make sure you're on the text list. If you're not on the text list, text the word morning, MORNING, to the number 87948. Text morning to 87948. And I'm glad you guys like this money in the morning thing. Over 10,000 of you signed up to be a part of it, and it's just something I want to do to contribute. And really, every day, I just believe that if you get together every morning and you're talking about economics, then economics becomes part of your consciousness. You're thinking about money. The things you think about and the things you focus on are the things that will grow in your life. So a lot of times, I believe that people struggle economically because they're not thinking about it. They're thinking about money like I need money, but they're not thinking about how to get money, right? So it's like me saying, "Gosh, I'm so hungry. I wish I had something to eat." But then you're not thinking about recipes. Do you understand? You're not thinking about going to the grocery store. You're not thinking about planting any food in your garden. When somebody comes up and says, "Hey, let's plant some food. Let's go to the grocery store. Let's learn some recipes." You're like, "Oh man, I ain't got time for that. I'm going to the club, but I'm gonna eat on my way to the club." Well, what you gonna eat? The only way you're gonna eat is what somebody else is cooking for you, which is very dangerous. They could poison you. So ultimately, when you talk about eating good economically, I would encourage you to understand that a person who truly wants to eat good is a person who's going to learn how to grow their garden. They're going to learn where the grocery store is located. They're going to learn where the good restaurants might be located. They're going to learn some recipes. Do you understand? Because if you learn the recipes, and this is what I want our children to learn financial recipes so they can become financial chefs. They can go in and whip it up. They can whip it up. And you got songs out here about whipping up crack, which is the dumbest shit I've ever seen. You're trying to give a kid 80 years in prison. You don't love black children if you're training them on how to go to prison for 80 years. What's wrong with you, you Klansman, you big racist? But so they'll teach them how to whip up some crack, but they don't know nobody talk about how to whip up some finances. Nobody talks about how to whip up a portfolio. I can show you how to I can show you the 10 crack commandments on how to whip up some real wealth in your family. How about that? How about we whip up some generational wealth, right? So Biggie had the 10 crack commandments. I want to bring in the 10 black commandments. How about that? How about that? In fact, that's the name of my book. My book is called The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. And what I did was I laid out a framework of 10 simple ideas. If your family embraces these ideas, not only will you succeed financially, you'll have generational wealth that'll last you 200 years. This is what I do. This is what I do. So anyway, if you want a copy of the book, you can go to drboycebooks.com, or actually, if you want a discounted copy and want to join our Black Wealth Ambassadors program, it's totally free. Just text the word wealth to the number 87948. Text the word wealth to 87948. And a lot of you have already started sending in your stories on what you're doing. I want everybody to know. I want everybody to know about all of you that are educating your own communities, that are out here really, like, really pursuing things, really making sure that your family's better off, that you're teaching the community, you're teaching your church, stuff like that. So I'm going to start celebrating that because it's not just about what I think and what I'm doing or what we're doing here. A lot of you are doing amazing stuff, and I'm going to really push myself to make sure that that gets mentioned in this platform. Okay. So, anyway, if you want to be a Black Wealth Ambassador where you can get the books super cheap and make it into a business, you can resell them if you want, you can give them away, whatever you want to do. Text the word wealth to the number 87948. So, text wealth to 87948. So, let me give you a couple more stats on this 50-50 thing and why 50-50 is just a bad idea. Most of the data pretty much says it's a bad idea. So check this out. 71% of millennials and Gen Z couples say that money is a significant source of relationship stress, making it the number one cause of conflict, which beats out sex, communication, and even infidelity. Even infidelity, it's crazy. It's almost like some people think, I guess, feel like if you have enough money, cheating is not as bad as it is if you're broke. I don't know. I don't know. You have to tell me. Is it better to be cheated on by a rich person or a broke person, or is it all the same? But anyway, this is according to Fidelity Investments. Also, 63% of divorces among couples 25 to 44 list financial stress as a major contributing factor. Check this out. Over 50% of young couples who try to split expenses equally report hidden resentment or feeling financially burdened, especially when incomes are not truly equal, leading to dissatisfaction and higher breakup rates. So this was a love and money survey that was done by YouGov in Credit Karma in 2020. So let's read this again. I want us to really process this. It says over 50% of young people, so 50%, half of young people who try to split expenses equally, the ones who try, they're like, oh, 50-50. Okay, I do 50-50. They they report hidden resentment. So I'm pissed off and I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to act like I'm happy, but I'm not. Or feeling financially burdened, right? This is a burden for me. And they said, especially when incomes are not truly equal. So when you're the rich guy or the rich woman and you're trying to protect your money, so you want to go 50-50. Um, I go along with that because maybe it's not politically correct for me to say anything, or maybe if I do say something, you might accuse me of being a gold digger, or I might lose the relationship. But I have this hidden resentment towards you. Hidden resentment is a very dangerous thing, like because it bubbles beneath the surface, and what happens is it comes out in other ways. Like for example, there are like for example, I'm gonna tell you this. I'll tell you the honest to God truth. I don't really know if most um, relationships can be super healthy if the woman makes significantly more money than the man. I'm not saying it can't be done, and I'm not saying that there aren't men who can't adjust to that, but I can say that that a lot of studies also show that like if she's out working really hard and making all this money, that there's a greater likelihood of infidelity in those relationships. And a lot of people speculate that maybe it's because the man feels like less than a man, so he needs to find some other way to feel like a man. And that's terrible to even consider. It's horrible to think that that might be the case. But I don't know. This is what the research says. I look at what the data says. I look at what nature says as opposed to what humans say should be the case. We do a lot of what I call social engineering. Like we tell people that things like gender is a figment of your imagination. I don't think gender is a figment of your imagination. No, I know the difference between a boy and a girl. And this idea that they're the same is just go to a track meet or a weightlifting competition, and you'll see that there's a difference. So rather than trying to believe that women and men are the same, which I did believe that for a while, and it really was it was a terrible thing to believe, and it led to outcomes that I didn't like. So I said, instead of me believing what people are telling me, what the politicians are saying, I'm going to start learning what's really true. So instead of trying to be politically correct, I just wanted to be correct. So I read a book when I was 31 called What Women Want Men to Know by Dr. Barbara DeAngelis. So when I read this book, What Women Want Men to Know, I spent literally weeks studying women and studying how women think and what makes women different from men. And when I saw the difference, I said, "Oh my God, now I know what they mean when they say men are from Mars, women are from Venus." That if I want to get along with women, I have to really learn how to cooperate and coexist with people that think completely different from me in a lot of different areas. Like I'll give you one simple example that took me the longest time to understand. When I hear a problem, I want to solve it. I'm a mathematician. That's what we do. I taught math at Kentucky. When you get a problem, you solve the problem. Why would you have the problem just sit there and, and just not be solved? But I learned that sometimes, sometimes emotional empathy is more important than actual problem solving. So when when someone comes to you with a problem, and I'm sorry, ladies, you know what I'm talking about. It's a problem that's easily solved that she's been complaining about for years. And you're like, why don't you just do this? Right? That's not going to work. So I learned like people want to be heard. They want you to empathize with how they're feeling and validate their emotions. And I was like, what does that mean? Like, I don't even know, so it took me a long time to get that. So when my wife comes to me with a problem that could have been solved in 2019 and she's complaining about it and sad about it, I'm like, okay, boys, don't give a solution. Don't give a solution. Don't give us a just listen, be quiet, just listen, let her get it all out, and then like tell her things to let her know that you know how she feels. Like, that's insanity. I'm sorry. Like that y'all that's crazy. That doesn't make any sense to me. But then again, though, we're all crazy. Men are crazy too. We got weird stuff that we do that's weird, And I encourage any woman that wants to get along with men, go read a book about men. And I had a friend like that, and I told her stuff that I learned about women, and then I said, yeah, but also with men, here's some things that are true about men. And she was like, I don't believe that. That's not true. That's not true. Because again, she fell for the political correctness trap that no, men don't think that way. I'm like, no, men are just telling you this, but really they believe that. And she's like, no, that's not true. That's just you. And I said, here. So here's what she did that I thought was so profound. I only 1% of all people would have done this. You know what she did? I told her about the book, What Women Want Men to Know by Dr. Barbara DeAngelis. I said she wrote another book about men. I forgot what the title is. You have to look it up. Her name is Dr. Barbara DeAngelis. She's a white lady, but she's a smart lady. So don't discount it because she's white. I know that we're a little bit smarter than everyone else, but I'm kidding. I'm being silly. So in her book, she wrote about men. My friend read this book. She took the book and she read it. And she came back and she said, "Oh my God, thank you for asking me to read this book because I learned so much that I did not know." Right? And I think that makes you better. Like it's just like if you're a salesperson, you got to understand your customer. Like why wouldn't you? Why would you? You can't. The worst way to sell a product, like so, it's because in dating, that's what you're doing. You're in a market. You're selling something. You're selling yourself, right? You're looking for partnerships. You're looking for somebody that wants to be with you, right? As an economist, I see dating as a market, just like you have a market for stocks and bonds. Just like you have a grocery store as a market, you have a market for automobiles. Dating is a market. There's supply and demand. You can put prices on things if you want to, even though it's hard, right? Because you get the high value this and high value that. No, that's not true. But we know that maybe if a man has $10 million in the bank, he has a little bit more value in certain spaces than a man who has $10 in the bank. Not to say he can't have value in other ways, but his financial value is certainly lower, right? His other value might be there. He might have some other things going on, and he's still a worthy human being. But the ladies are going to look at the guy with 10 million a little bit differently from the way they look at the guy with $10. That's just reality. Stop trying to be politically correct. Stop trying to be nice. Be honest with yourself. So in any market, you're making trades. You're making a sale. You're offering something, and you tend to get the best offer if you put your best foot forward. Like when I'm looking for a job, I don't show up to the job interview stinking, unprepared, half asleep, 10 minutes late, talking crazy. If I do that, am I going to get the job? Am I going to get the job over the person who's prepared? Yes or no? If I show up disrespecting the boss, not really, not present, not, just nothing on my resume, I'm not going to get the damn job. So I don't understand why people don't understand this about every other area of life. When you talk about relationships, when I picked my wife, I wanted the job. So so I put my best foot forward. I was on my best behavior. I showed her what kind of man I could be because I know she had options. She knew I had options. So anyway, going back to this, let's go back to the money side though. I'm gonna just tell you, just the one conclusion is I'm gonna just tell anybody who's doing these 50-50 conversations, be really careful because the data seems to show that it doesn't work. The data shows that generally speaking, women don't like it, and they just maybe are afraid to tell you. But they're gonna lie sometimes, and that's just the truth. So let me see here. Let me find. Uh, Okay, one other thing too is that according to the National Marriage Project, couples that cohabitate, that live together unmarried, are twice as likely to break up in 5 years compared to married couples. And that makes sense because there's less frictions to break up, right? You can just pack your stuff on a Tuesday and walk out. Whereas with marriage, you're like, gotta go down and get a lawyer. I gotta go fill out the papers. I gotta figure out who's gonna get the couch and the house and the dog and right? So what one thing marriage does is it keeps relationships and units together because it makes it harder for you to break up. It creates that they call that a market friction. Um, Let me see here. Here's some more research stuff. Okay, I mentioned earlier Cornell University study that says women in 50-50 relationships have 30% more resentment than women whose partners pay more. And the resentment often leads to emotional disconnection and higher relationship dissatisfaction. The Pew Research Center found that in relationships where men contribute the majority financially, so this is where the men are the major contributors, women report higher relationship satisfaction, stronger conflict resolution, and greater feelings of security and appreciation. This is this research paper is called Modern Marriage and Money. So let's pay attention. So in relationships where men are paying the majority of the money, women are more satisfied, they're more likely to resolve conflicts with you instead of just being mad at you and fighting with you over every little thing. And they also feel more secure and appreciated. What do you think, ladies? Answer in the chat. Do you think that that makes sense, or do you think that that's just nonsense? You think that this is just fake news, and I'm just making things up, and and because I'm secretly a Trump supporter, or I secretly love Kamala Harris, or I don't know. Like, what do you think? Do you think that? That this is accurate. Okay, because I think I would almost say that I noticed a long time ago that it almost seemed like there was like they call it dimorphism in mating. I don't know if you know this, but most species can be broken into two major categories. There's this guy named Professor Ken Sapolsky at Stanford who used to do these amazing research talks about human beings and how they mate, but he didn't talk about humans. He would talk about animals all throughout the animal kingdom. And he said that in a lot of species, you have two major categories. You have what they call dimorphism, or another category. I forgot what it is. Not pair bonded, but where it's not. So dimorphism is where the males are like bigger than the females. That's what dimorphism is. And then I forgot what the opposite of dimorphism is, but it's where you're kind of equal. You're kind of the same. You kind of, like the male and the female about the same height. And he said that in the dimorphic relationships, the mating practices are just different. Like he said something crazy like 5% of the males, might produce 95% of the babies. Like, so you got babies, mamas like everywhere, because they want to mate with the alpha male, and the relationships don't last as long. I think he might have called them pair bonded. Whereas the other types of groups, they form almost like marriages. Like the male and the female stick together. They share in the raising of the children, stuff like that. I got to go look it up again because it was really fascinating stuff. And what was interesting was he said that when you talk about humans, he said it's complicated. He said that we can be both. We can be the types where men and women kind of kind of approach life as equals, and kind of share things and get married and raise the kids together and help with the housework and all that. Or you can have the dimorphia stuff pop out where you have the girl who's 4'8" who wants the to date the athlete who's 6'9", 240 pounds. He's got 25 side chicks, in 14 babies mamas, but that's appealing because she's attracted to that testosterone that comes with him being the alpha because he won an NBA championship and got a $200 million contract. And so all these mating habits just kind of pop out. And you'll see this through the animal kingdom. I saw this deer, this doe, female doe, a deer, a female deer. So this doe was in mating season, so she was feeling hot. She wanted a dude, and so she went, and all the men could smell that she was ready to mate, that it was mating season. So of course, being men, you know how men are, just disgusting pigs. So all these males were trying to hook up with her. They were like, "Hey girl, how you doing?" But doing like deer, they would sniff each other's butts and stuff. And what happened was they said that all the males would gather in a group and the males on the outside were the weaker males. So the weaker males were on the outside of the group. The stronger males were in the middle. They could hold down the middle of the pack. And so she got there, and of course, every one of the guys was like, "Hey, girl, how you doing? Hey, do you come here often? Like, can I get your number, girl?" And she ignored like all of them, right? Because she was working her way to the middle of the circle. And as she got closer, the males got stronger, and she became more tempted. She started seeing men that she was interested in. And literally, she passed up every single man and went right for the alpha. She went right for the man right in the middle. And it was real interesting. Like they had sex and it lasted like 15 seconds. And then she just ran off. She's like, "Thank you, I'm done." And she went and had her baby. And that was it. There wasn't no marriage. There wasn't no child support. Wasn't nothing. Just like I need his genes. I need his DNA. And when I saw that, it made me look at relationships so different. It made me really think like, okay, this is what you're saying that you want, but maybe this is what you really want. But I think that being conscious of that can really help you to sort of make those decisions that'll put you really where you want to be instead of lying to yourself. So let me read more. And remember, the conclusion of this basically is that I'm convinced that 50-50 just doesn't work. And if you can't go, if 50-50, if you are stressed out financially in relationships, I think that would mean either picking a certain kind of partner that is more of a fit for you financially. I wonder if sometimes when I hear men that are stressed out financially by women, if you're just picking women that are the wrong types for you. I can even say, even when I was financially secure, I didn't really necessarily want to marry a woman that had no money. I could pay for things. Yeah, paying for dinner is not a problem, paying for whatever's, but I didn't want to deal with somebody that had an infinite supply of financial problems where I constantly had to fund that and I wasn't getting any support. I specifically was interested in someone that had some type of capability because that took the pressure off of me. But at the same time, financially, we have a financially dimorphic relationship. I, for many years, have made probably 15 times more money than my wife. So it's one of these things where, while I'll certainly allow her to do what she's going to do and be as free as she wants to be financially, there's never a moment where if she can't handle the burden, I can't step in and fix it, right? And that makes us comfortable in that way. I think it makes her feel secure, yet free to do what she wants to do. Like I'm not gonna block and say, "Look, no, woman, you can't do that. Not in my house, girl. Sit your ass down, anime. Eat the damn cake." Like I don't do that. It's like, well, okay, if you want to do it, that's fine. Oh, you know what? This looks like it's too much for you. I'm gonna step in and help, right? But really finding the situation that really works for you, I think, is really important. So another study. There's so many interesting studies on this 50-50 thing but again, the conclusion is that it's just a bad idea. The Pew Research Center found that relationships where men contribute oh, I already mentioned that. Okay, YouGov America found that over 60% of women under 40, this is for the young women, privately say that they prefer men to pay more in relationships. And what's crazy is that publicly, 60% of them are saying that they support equality. So 60% of them are, they want to be strong feminists in public, but when you ask them what they really think, they're like, "No, I kind of want a man to be a man in that way. I kind of want him to step up a little bit," which is really interesting. This is why you can't get caught up in being politically correct, because that'll lead you into a death trap. So they said there's a gap between public and private desire, which often creates unmet expectations. So a lot of times, I think that in life, they always say that. I think I heard a saying that says, "Life doesn't give you what you want; it gives you what you deserve." And or it gives you what you earned, right? So, I might want certain things, but if I'm afraid to be honest with the world and talk about what I want, then I'm gonna just get what I ask for, right? So if I say, if you ask me what do you want to eat, and I want to be politically correct, and I say, well, I want the chicken, but really I want the steak, but I'm too scared to say I would like some steak, then I'm gonna be eating chicken my whole life, and I'm gonna be mad because I really want a steak, right? So I think that having the courage to tell the world what you really want and not being ashamed of that is okay. I think that for men and for women. I think that just, I hate the idea that people let peer pressure tell them what they're supposed to want or how they're supposed to want it. I'm gonna tell you, I got roasted bad on the internet when I got married to my wife because I had some men who thought that me getting on my knee and proposing to her somehow made me a simp, or that somehow she kept me locked in the friend zone for 25 years and refused to date me. And they don't know that. Actually, my wife will tell you that I actually was enjoyed being single. I didn't make the move. It wasn't on her. It was just I actually had a whole other life and made different decisions as I got older. And but at the end of the day, all I care about is what I want. All I care about is, are my choices going to work for me? That's the life I got to live. So I can't having much of an interest in what other people think about what I should do with my relationship. I'm like, you don't know my life. Just if you're that miserable that you're obsessed with how I live, then something's wrong with you. I feel sorry for you because I choose what I want. If I want the steak, I'm gonna say I want the steak. And I think that women, same thing. If you really feel that if a broke man can't do nothing for you right now, I don't think you have to feel pressure to lie about that. And I think same thing is true for men though. Same thing flips for men. I see a lot of men get flack because they won't get married, or they'll date somebody and they're like, "Why won't you marry her? You won't do the right thing." Well, maybe she hasn't convinced him to want to do the right thing. Maybe she hasn't presented herself as a person that he should want to marry. I think that that's something that has to be acknowledged as well, because marriage is a major, major commitment. Marriage is really hard. Marriage requires special skill. Marriage is very risky because if it goes bad, you lose a lot. You lose a lot. You lose a lot. So as much as we want to talk about, as much as we might want to talk about the men, and believe me, there's a lot to talk about. You know me, my whole theory is like I think not having fathers in the house has really done a major horrible number to a lot of our men. But in terms of confidence and clarity and purpose and stuff like that, I think as a man as a head of a household, you got to know who you are and where you're trying to go, and you typically get that from another man. But we can also talk about just maybe even sacred cows like feminism. I'm not saying all feminism's bad. I think my wife is kind of a feminist, but I'm like, you can be whatever you want. But just know who I am. I'm not one who co-signs on all that stuff. I think some of that stuff does lead to misery and sadness, where people pretend to be one thing, but really deep down they're crying on the inside because they can't be who they really want to be. And let me just tell you, honest, truthful story. I'm gonna circle back to finances. I want to make sure that you know why this is an economic conversation. There was a person I knew who was related to a very prominent feminist, like really super. If I said her name, you know her name because she's written books and everything, and everybody knows her. And she said, when I got really close to her, um, I started seeing things that kind of led me to see behind the curtain to know that not all of this is reality. That there was the public persona that she had to maintain, the tough feminist thing, but the private persona was that she was very lonely and she didn't have anybody. She got sick and went to the hospital and said nobody was here to pick me up at the hospital, and that made me sad. And she said what that made me realize is while I'm still happy to be a strong woman and a strong feminist, she said, I realized, you know what? I'm glad I got my husband. I will sacrifice to keep my husband. I'm committed to my family. I don't care what nobody says. And I think I think that that's important. And the same thing's true with men. Men get, other guys telling them you got to be a tough guy. You can't let no woman do this to you. And next thing you know, you talking crazy to that woman, and then she's in somebody else's arm, and you up here crying. So really, um, in my view, let's circle it back to investing. I invest heavily in the things that I want. And I know that I can't have the things I want in my life if I don't sacrifice for those things. If I want wealth, I got to sacrifice to get wealth. If I want to keep my family, I got to sacrifice for that. Whatever it is, if I want to be fit, if I want to lose weight, I got to sacrifice for that. I got to submit to that. So people that kind of make you think that you don't have to submit to anything are typically people that are never going to have anything. And that's why, and so the same reason people have a lot of relationship misery is the same reason a lot of people are broke. Why are you broke? Well, you're broke because you don't submit to saving your money. You want to go ball out and be a sucker like all these other fools on TV. You're maybe you're broke because you won't submit to the idea that you need to be in the stock market like all the other wealth builders in America, but you want to just follow and do what everybody else is doing. Maybe you're broke because you won't submit to education. I would go to college. In college. I remember I had friends that would not study. I was like, why aren't you studying? You're a black man. They're gonna make you a slave if you ain't got no skill set. If you don't have anything on your resume, if you don't have anything that can allow you to survive and prosper, then they're gonna mistreat you. And then you're gonna say, well, they just mistreat me because I'm black. Oh, of course you're black, you big dummy. That's why you got to show up prepared. You're not just black. See, because you're really disrespecting black people when you say that it's because you were black. That's the thing that this is something that I think is fundamentally true. Stop telling me that all this happened to you just because you're black. We know you black, and we know that black people don't get a fair shake like everybody else. We know these things, but this didn't happen to you just because you black. Maybe it happened because you're black and. Maybe it happened because you're black and lazy. Maybe it happened because you're black and unprepared. Maybe it happened because you're black and you waste all your money. Maybe it happened because you're black and you have no discipline. Maybe those are the things that cause this issue. So yes, we know you're black. We know that a lot of things are going to happen because you're black. I got a t-shirt. Did y'all know? I got a t-shirt that says because I'm black. I really do. And I made because I know that we know I'm very race sensitive. I'm a what they call it, a black identity extremist. I probably fit that description because I every day I wake up and I know that I'm black. So we know you're black and we know that things will happen to you because you're black, but it didn't happen only because you're black. Because the black man who's unprepared is going to be more of a victim than the black man who is fully prepared. Do you understand? The black man who chooses education is typically going to end up in a better situation than the black man who chooses a liquor bottle. The black woman who chooses to better herself is going to be better than the black woman who chooses not to better herself. The black woman who goes to the gym and eats right is going to end up in a better situation than the black woman who eats chitlins and donuts and twerks all day, right? Like I mean, let's just keep it 100. I don't think you have to look down on anybody for this to be true. But when they come to me and they say, well, this happened to so and so just because he was black, I'm like, no, I get it. Yes, things happen because you're black. And because things happen because you're black, that means you have to be more prepared because you're black. My grandma taught me this. My grandma said, because you're black, you got to be twice as good to get half as much. Because you're black, you gotta be on your P's and Q's. Because you're black, you got to have your head on a swivel. You got to watch out for the banana in the tailpipe. You got to realize these white folks don't love you. Because you're black, you got to save your money because ain't nobody gonna save you during a financial crisis. Because you're a black man, you need that black woman by your side. Because you're a black woman, you need to honor the good black men in your life and partner with them whenever you can. Because you're black, the rules are different. We know these things. We know these things, but stop telling me that all these things are going to happen to me just because I'm black. There's nothing about being black that says I have to be broke. That is not a rule written in stone. That is a rule written in bad culture. That is a rule written in a society where they mass market ridiculous, unintelligent behavior to your community. They call it hip hop music, which is probably funded by the CIA. That's what they do. They market horrible culture, and then bad things happen, and then you say, this happened because I'm black. No, you're not illiterate because you're black. There's nothing in the book of blackness that says that you have to be illiterate, unprepared, unhealthy, making bad choices, 7 babies mamas, 8 babies daddies, living like a damn fool. I'm not making fun of anybody who's falling for that track. I want to make sure you understand this. This is a sinister thing. But at the end of the day, man, uh, choice and accountability is everything. And in order for you to be free to make the choices you need to make, you got to break away from broken culture. You have to break away from limited-minded people who are going to tell you that, oh, well, you must think you better than everybody. You must think you white. And believe me, take it from a guy who gets roasted all the time. That goofy NBA player, Kwame Brown. Do you remember him? He played, poor guy. He played with Michael Jordan. I think Michael Jordan beat him up for a long time or something. And he did 12 videos about me, and he kept saying I'm uppity because I talk to intelligent black people. And I'm like, why would you want black people to be stupid? Why do you not want black people to be intelligent? What makes you think that black people are incapable of being intelligent? I don't even I was confused. I was like, why first of all, I don't know this man, ain't never met this man. This man, he talked about my wife, he talked all this stuff he didn't know nothing about. But it was really funny to me. I was like, wow, you really don't think highly of yourself. You really don't. Maybe that's why Michael Jordan was so mean to you because nobody raised you to understand that you can be whatever you want to be in this world, and you got to stop walking around letting people make you believe that because you're black you're supposed to be stupid, or that because you're black you're supposed to be lazy, or because you're black you're supposed to be broke, or because you're black you're supposed to have a messed up family, or because you're black you're supposed to be traumatized. I hate that. I hate that. We literally have like the trauma Olympics. Well, you ain't really black. You didn't grow up black because when I grew up, we were so poor. We had bologna sandwiches with no bologna. No, no, no. Well, you know what? Well, you ain't really black because when I was 7, I watched my mama shoot my daddy in the face. Right? You ain't really black because when I was little, they evicted us and then we lived in the streets and had to go kill people to make money. Like it's like I get it. We go through hard times. But I personally think that self-esteem is critical. I think that black esteem means that we can manufacture our own black privilege. We can manufacture our own black excellence. I also believe that given that preparation is the key to success, you can prepare for whatever you want. I'm gonna end on this. This is the last point I'm gonna make. I knew this genius of a black woman who was actually my wife's aunt, and she was a mathematical genius, and she was a wonderful lady, and she passed away not too long ago. And one thing that she said that was amazing to her sons all the time. And she said, nothing is hard if you study. Nothing is hard if you study. And she was talking about education. She was talking about school. But what she was talking about was life. That nothing is hard if you're prepared. Nothing is hard if you're prepared. Being wealthy is not hard if you prepare. It's easy, actually, quite easy. Um, Doing well on a math test is easy if you're prepared. Having a good life is easy if you're prepared. Being healthy is easy if you're prepared. If I want to run a mile, it's easy if I'm prepared. So the question, in my view, is do we talk enough about what preparation actually looks like? Or do we only talk about reacting to the consequences of being unprepared? Right? So they come and get you, and the white man done did it again. He done took my stuff again. Well, did you prepare? What did you do to prepare? And I'm not saying that he ain't sinister. I'm not saying he's not gonna come take your stuff every time, but who trained you to think that as a black man or black woman in a racist society that you did not have to be doubly prepared? This is why integration, y'all trying to merge with white people, has been so devastating to your community because your grandparents understood that. Your grandparents understood that nobody's saving you. They understood we have no friends. They understood that you got to get your education. They understood that you have to work hard. They understood that you got to be ready. That's what they understood. My grandmother used to talk to me about that stuff because she was a black woman raising 5 kids by herself on a $22,000 salary. What nobody coming to save grandma? So you sitting around whining because of what the Democrats or the Republicans didn't do or what white folks are trying to do. She would just kind of look at you strange, like, what did you think they were gonna do? Did you think that they were Santa Claus for like what made you think that these people are really here to help you? They're not here to help you. They're here to take from you. So the question at that point is, what are you going to do about that? So I can tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to be the best husband and father I can be and raise my children to the best of my ability and love my wife as much as I can. I'm going to study and learn every single thing I can possibly learn so that my brain is full of knowledge and skill sets that will help me to be successful. I'm going to save and invest money at the highest levels possible, institution build as much as I can, and do my absolute best at everything I do because I know that being black should mean being as excellent as you can be on every available moment. It does not mean you're perfect. It just means you're doing your best. I don't know if we are trained to simply do our very, 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 very best. That is a core value such that if your children are infused with this basic idea, they are going to have a 99% probability of being successful at something. This is black culture. That is what black culture looks like in this space. So I want to say thank you guys for hanging out with me. It was real. I love you. And I'll see you all tomorrow. And also, I'll text out that link to the bond funds. I told you investing in bonds is a good way to deal with recessions. That's how you prepare. So I'll send that to you in later on. Make sure you're on the text list. Text the word morning to 87948 if you'd like to receive that. So text the word morning to 87948. Also, those of you that want to learn stock options, we're in the third week of our coin program. That stands for the Certified Options Investing Network. It's a 12-week intensive. I teach myself. It's a small group. Only 40 people are allowed in the group. And we're going to do another cohort in about 9 weeks. So if you want to talk to someone about joining coin, just go to drboycecoin.com, drboycecoin.com. And also tonight, Dr. Alicia, my wife, who is the head of our Black Financial Therapy Department, is going to be hosting her weekly book club. And I think that she's going to do some relationship stuff. You know, she's trained on that. So if you want to join or get notified when she does things, text the word love to the number 87948. So text love to 87948. So have a good day, everybody. God bless you. And I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye. Hey, what's going on, everybody? I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Welcome to drboycetv.com. This is the home for intelligent Black people. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and we are all about investing. We're all about building our wealth. We're all about making good decisions and breaking generational curses and putting our people ahead of the curve. I want to say hello to everybody. I hope you are doing well. This is a Friday night, and finally got a little bit of time to sit down and have a conversation with you. And so I wanted to talk about this stock market crash. This market was pretty ugly. Bad things happened. Hey, Sherelle, how are you? It got ugly. It got real ugly. And how many of you were kind of feeling the heat a little bit? How many of you saw your portfolios kind of get beat up a little bit? If you did, join the club. It was raining outside. Everybody got wet. Damn near everybody got wet. And for those of you that study stock options with us in the Black Business School, you will know that this is why we buy our put options, because days like today, you're glad to have your puts because it could always be worse than it was. So I want to say hello to Fit Crypto and Michelle Sainsbury, Serge, Janet Milner, Andrea Jackson, Felicia Jackson. Good to see you. And just so you know, I switched up my setup in my background a little bit in my studio. Let me know what you think about that if you like it. And let me know if you can hear me okay. Can you give me a quick yes if you are able to hear me okay? I'm testing out a new microphone. And so I could use your help in knowing if I am communicating properly. All right. So basically, let's talk about what happened today. The stock market just kind of crapped on everybody. It was one of those days, man. You know, things go bad. I saw the big trigger I saw was inflation and the uncertainty around tariffs. Now, I've talked to you guys about tariffs and inflation and some of those issues before. And you can see with the S&P 500, it just got ridiculous and got super ugly, and a lot of things dropped, and it went down 700 points. 700 is a big number for the Dow, for the S&P 500. And it says stock here on CNBC, stocks sold off sharply on Friday, pressured by growing uncertainty on U.S. trade policy, as well as a more grim outlook on inflation. The Dow Jones closed down 715 points. Shares of several tech giants dropped, putting pressure on the broader market. Google dropped 4.9%, Meta and Amazon dropped 4.3%. This week, the S&P 500 lost 1.53%, while the 30-stock Dow shed 0.96%. That's almost 1%. That's a big deal. So what happened here, Paulo, is that basically the market got hit by two major things, and that is uncertainty, which is pretty familiar right now. I mean, by this time, we're kind of used to the idea that because nobody knows exactly how Trump is going to implement his tariff policy, that's created uncertainty. Uncertainty is not the friend of the stock market. Uncertainty will drop the price of any asset. Number two, the inflation numbers came back and they just didn't look good. It says here that Friday's core personal consumption expenditures price index also came out hotter than expected, rising 2.8% in February and reflecting a 0.4% increase for the month, stoking concerns about persistent inflation. Economists surveyed by Dow Jones have been looking for respective numbers of 2.7% and 0.3%. So the numbers were only slightly higher than the expectation, but that's still pretty bad. And so ultimately, that's just that's kind of unfortunate. Now, AIC brother Luke Mon, how are you? Out of Lexington, very nice. The put options cushioned it, just like you said. Yeah. The put options. If you are a consistent buyer of put options, then you made some money off of the decline. But the thing about puts is it's like car insurance. It's not going to make you rich. It'll just protect you from disaster. So my portfolio got hit like everybody else's. I had a little bit of extra cash on the side, so I went and bought some more stock. I've been a heavy investor in Meta lately, especially now. I'm buying the dip on Meta, and so I'm not telling you what to do, but I'm telling you what I'm doing. And Ebony says Ronnie Clay Smith passed away. Stop tagging him. That's my little brother. Oh wow, well, I'm very, very sorry about that. Gosh, I'm not, my heart goes out to you and your family, Ebony. I hate hearing that. Okay, so let's keep going here. It says, quote, the market's getting squeezed by both sides. There is uncertainty around next week's reciprocal tariffs. Because in case you don't know, Trump has he has this thing called Liberation Day or Freedom Day or something like that, where he's basically got this day where he says he's gonna, make America rich again. Again, Trump is a cartoon character for the most part. I mean, I didn't vote for the man or vote against the man. I don't vote for Democrats or Republicans. I voted for Cornel West, in case you want to know who I voted for. And I can just tell you that ultimately, I don't know. I kind of just feel like there is comedy on both sides. Joe Biden looked kind of crazy, and Trump, to me, it was kind of ridiculous as well. And so basically, he believes he's going to make America rich again with his tariffs. I could get past the idea of the tariffs because I think tariffs are a fact of life. Countries do put higher tariffs on the U.S. than we put on them. It's almost like your cousin that always borrows money from you, but you can never borrow money from them. And it's not fair, right? It becomes a drain on you. And so I get what he's saying, but the problem is that he's not being clear. He needs to be a leader and be clear about what he plans to do and how he plans to do it. And I don't know why they're not being clear. I don't know why. Maybe it's ego tripping or something, but the stock market is collapsing because of this. The stock market, you had a really good market up through the inauguration. And again, I'm not going to say that it's going to stay this way. I think there's still some hope. There are a lot of analysts who believe that American companies are making lots of money and that's what's going to keep them strong. But this is not helping. This is not helping at all. This uncertainty, it's going to cause long-term problems for the United States. And I think it's something that the Trump administration should be embarrassed about. I think that if you are claiming to have the right to run this country and you think your ideas are the best ideas, well, then show people, lead, be a leader. You're not being a leader right now. It's an embarrassment. So anyway, let me keep going here. Let's see here. So it says here, again, I mentioned earlier, there's certainty around next week's reciprocal tariffs hitting the major exporting sectors like tech, alongside concerns about a weakening consumer facing higher prices hitting areas like discretionary. This is according to Scott Hefstein, a head of investment strategy at Global X. So what he's basically talking about is something that really would concern me about the economy, which is the weakening of the American consumer. The American consumer has carried the economy quite a while, for quite a long time. And when consumers start getting nervous because they think they're going to lose their job or they're not sure what inflation is going to look like, then that could be the catalyst that drills us into a recession. So next week will either be an extraordinarily good week, meaning that you're going to see a lot of positive momentum in a lot of stocks, or it could be a pile-on week where we start heading down toward an actual bear market, an actual recession. And that's not going to happen at the same time. The bear market and the recession are not going to be simultaneous. It's one of these things. The stock market looks into the future. It doesn't look at what's happening right now. The stock market looks at what's going to happen later on. So I see LaShawn says, I love the new backdrop. Do you? You like the backdrop? Well, I appreciate it. Thank you. They told me I should get a better backdrop. And I'm not into all I'm not trying to be flashy. I ain't trying to be the flashiest, coolest person on the internet. That's not interesting to me. I like to talk about things that have substance, and that's it. I think there's so much stuff on the internet that honestly is just like goofy to me. And it's like, it looks good, but I need my brain to be stimulated. I want to see something that's going to make me think. I don't really care, too much about the backdrop, but if y'all like it, then that's what's up. Let's do it. Okay. So anyway, by the way, in the Black Business School, we created financial flashcards for kids. So if you have children or grandchildren and you want to get them ahead of the curve, feel free to go to financialflashcards.com and you can get some of our flashcards for your kids and take a look. Also, we have something called a Black Wealth Ambassadors Program, and this is for people that are serious about spreading the knowledge of Black wealth throughout our community, forming community investment clubs, little educational centers in your house, just family investment groups, church groups, whatever it is. So what we do is we offer you the chance to buy our stuff super, super cheap, like 70, 80% off, so you can then resell it and make it into a business. We want to go into business with you. We want to be your business partner. So if you're interested in being a Black Wealth Ambassador and teaching the community and also starting that business, just text the word wealth to the number 87948. Just text the word wealth to the phone number 87948. All right, so hit the thumbs up button. Thumbs up, share, subscribe. So as we were talking about earlier, the S&P 500 has been hit pretty hard and it's down quite a bit. And this is pretty ugly. And so I'm going to keep on sort of breaking this down and letting you guys know what's going on. So it says, quote, despite today's sell-off and broader market volatility the past few weeks, there have not been big inflows into money markets. It seems like a lot of investors are trying to ride this out. So what they're saying is that there's still a lot of investors that are insistent on buying the dip. Investors have been trained to buy the dip. And I think buying the dip is good. But then sometimes being overly committed to buying the dip could be a problem, especially if you're headed into a dip that's longer than you expect. So on one hand, I'm a big advocate for patience in investing and knowing that eventually this too shall pass. But at the same time, it may take a long time for it to pass. So what you may want to look at you've got some bond funds out there that can give you some exposure to bonds that can get you kind of out of that a little bit, out of the stock market some. And then also you've got things like consumer staples. I don't have the ticker symbol in front of me, but there's like an actual ETF on consumer staples. I think the ticker might be XLP or something like that. And we talk about consumer staples. We've been talking about that for the past few weeks as I've been sort of letting you guys know that what happened today was kind of on the horizon, that literally, there we go. The ticker's XLP. And XLP is a fund that owns a lot of consumer staple companies. The biggest holdings in this fund, if you buy one share, you get ownership in Costco, Walmart, Procter & Gamble, Coca-Cola, Philip Morris, PepsiCo, Colgate, and Target. So, there's Target, right? So you may not like Target because of the DEI, but you can pick any of those companies individually. And this is one of the things that people are doing in order to protect themselves as the market starts acting a little bit weird. Also, gold is seen as a popular hedge to protect against markets like this. Yeah, I did. Well, I did mention XLP earlier. Yeah, so XLP, and it's still relevant. It's even more relevant than before. I know we talked about it this morning in class, but it's super relevant right now. So it says here, Trump earlier this week announced a 25% tariff on, quote, all cars that are not made in the United States, a decision that hurt a lot of auto stocks. And I think it benefited his buddy Elon. I think Elon was protected a little more when they put tariffs on his competitors. And also, I think that when he shut down the EV credit, that somehow helps Elon, because I don't think his company needs the EV credit because they're already making EVs cheaply. So if you're wondering if the game is rigged, it's absolutely rigged. There's no question about it. But then again, I'm a cynic because I've always felt the game was rigged. I've always felt that it's rigged. A few other things happening in the market that you may want to care about is tech stocks, where the superstars going back the last few years. Tech stocks may not be the superstars going forward, so I'd be extremely careful. Robin, should I put my money in? Stop putting money in the market given the current state of the market? I didn't stop putting money in the market. I buy the dips. So remember, you're not investing for the next 3 months. You're investing for the next 5 years, 10 years, right? So 10 years from now, you won't remember anything about this day. You won't even remember this conversation. So if you're really an investor, you try to back up and think about the next 10 years. So I bought stock. I bought a ton of stock today. I bought as much as I could because I buy the dip. It doesn't mean I know what's going to happen. It just means I buy the dip. I don't think about it. I buy the dip. I look at it and say, okay, everything's cheap now. Let me buy the dip. And that's not because I know that the dip is going to end in 2 weeks. That's not because I know what's going to happen in April and May. It's because I know what's going to happen over the next 10 years based on 200 years of data in the stock market. You buy the dip, buying the dip works. Running away doesn't. That's what it is. Okay. So let me mention a couple more things. A lot of retail investors are panic selling. A lot of smart money is getting ready for the rebound for sure. and global markets are being hit as well as U.S. markets. So that's something that's kind of hitting things pretty hard. So some of the stocks you're asking me about, I can't really answer stock questions a lot of stocks right now. We can save that till class. So when we get together for class, we can talk about that. But for right now, I just wanted to come in and touch bases with you guys and let you guys know what I was seeing and what the issues are. And what I'll do over the weekends, I'll mention something in terms of what 4 or 5 things you want to look for going forward in the market this week. It's if you're not sure what to do, I think sometimes doing nothing is the best answer. Waiting and seeing. I don't think you have to act on every little thing that happens in the market. You emotionally reacting to the fact that the market dropped so much today is not really wise investing, because sometimes it goes down, sometimes it goes up. But if you're an investor, you're just an investor, and that's pretty much the philosophy that tends to work. I know that that's not as exciting as telling you exactly what's going to do or exactly exactly with certainty what's going to happen. But you can't do that. Nobody knows exactly what's going to happen. There's been thousands of research papers written where people tried to predict what an individual stock is going to do. Should I buy this stock or should I buy that stock? All the research says that that's not doable. But unfortunately, there are a lot of people on the internet who will lie to you, but they don't have PhDs in this topic. They haven't read hundreds of research papers on the topic. So they're going to say, no, buy this stock or don't buy that stock. That stock's going up. That's going down. They really don't know. They really don't know. So, but if you want to know what I did, I bought a lot of Meta. I like Meta. I think Mark Zuckerberg runs a good company, and I think that he's able to make good decisions. And I believe that Meta has a strong future. And also, just in case their future isn't as bright as I think it's going to be, I sold a lot of poor man's covered calls on Meta. So I made a few $1,000s selling the calls on Meta. So if you want to learn more about stock options and stuff like that, feel free to text the word options to 87948. Or you can also go to drboyceprime.com. I think stock options, environments like this are what options are kind of made for, because they allow you to kind of position yourself to benefit from whatever the market does. A market going down is an opportunity. A market going up is an opportunity. Everything's an opportunity if you know where the opportunities are. So I encourage you to learn that. That's what your financial literacy is going to do for you. Okay. So anyway, I'm going to get out of here, guys. So you guys like the new vibe, the new background? You want me to stick with it then? Okay, if that's the case, then I'm gonna stay with it, and we'll do this again. So I got to go upstairs. I got allergies, and I apologize for the sniffling, but I had allergies since I was a little kid. So I'm gonna go upstairs and lay next to my pretty wife, and that makes my sniffling go away. So God bless you. Have a good night, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. And if you want to join us for class tomorrow, then make sure you text the word morning to the number 87948. Text morning to 87948, and we will be meeting for class. And the book's behind me. That's my book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. So if you go to drboycebooks.com, you can get a copy, and I'll sign it for you and send it to your house. So take care, everybody. Have a good day. God bless you. I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye. Peace. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I hope you guys are having a great day. Welcome. It's so good to see you. I hope that life is treating you well. This is Money in the Morning. This is our daily financial consciousness training. This is where we get together and we talk about our economics every every morning at 10 a.m. Eastern. And hey, Andrea, I see you in there. Namaste to you as well. All right, and it's I hope you guys are having a great weekend. I know I am. We have been I've been working on some stuff. I actually had some team members fly in to work on some things with me. If you watch my YouTube channel, you might notice there's a little bit of a difference in the studio setup, and I really want to get you guys feedback. I want you all to take a look at it and tell me what you think. I actually like what we do with Money in the Morning. I like my little background with my Panther, but at the same time, though, I'm open to change. And just as a little note, if you're talking about if you're talking about leadership, which I'm not an expert at leadership, but one thing that I read in a book on management or on leadership said is that the best thing you can do is as a CEO of a company is ask your team members what they think, right? It's not smart to think you know all the answers. When you think you know all the answers, then that pretty much means that you don't know very many answers at all, because the first answer you should know is that 5 brains is typically better than one. So when it comes to decision making, I always make the final decision. I know that I'm the boss and all that other good stuff, but I also know that only a sucker would make an important decision without thinking through all the options, without taking in all the available information. So keep that in mind as you make choices, especially for those of you that are young, young people. I think that you're fighting for your independence. You want to make decisions that are yours, but sometimes you got older people around you who've been through it. They have an answer, and I think that when you talk about a couple of areas where our young people are struggling, they're struggling really in two key areas: mental health and financial health. Give me a yes if you agree with that. That our young people today are really struggling when it comes to being financially healthy, feeling financially safe, and secure, and also they struggle when it comes to being mentally together. Like y'all crazy, man. Like I ain't making fun of you, but I think the pandemic did a number on everybody under 30 seems to have really got jacked up by the pandemic. Us older folks, we kind of been there, done that. We kind of dealt with stuff like that before. Whereas it almost seems like for a lot of the younger people, there was something paralyzing about not being able to go outside for 2 or 3 years and missing out on key parts of your social life, your developmental experience. And as a result of that, you got some people that just didn't recover. They still the pandemic just got them, psychologically locked down. And my heart goes out to them. And sometimes I'm like, gosh, I wish I could help them understand little things about life. Like if you want to solve a problem or you want to get better at something, there's probably a book out there somebody wrote on that very same topic. If you can't figure out your relationship, there's thousands of relationship books and written by people that really know the science. Not your favorite YouTube influencer who's a 25-year-old who can't get a boyfriend. I'm talking about people that really have studied, people that really have looked at the data and sat, and have gone through 10,000 couples to see which types of couples last and which ones don't, and I don't know why that seems uppity for me to bring that up. I mean, there are people that really get violently rejective of the suggestion that using science to solve a problem is the best way to solve it. They get mad, like, "Oh, you think you better than everybody else? You think you uppity?" Well, here's the thing. Maybe you think I'm uppity, and maybe I am, but I don't think that being black should automatically be aligned with being miserable all the time. I think that there's some people who really think that if you black, you're supposed to be blind, deaf, dumb, and crazy, walking through the dark, always in the struggle, always like having your life fall apart over easily preventable mistakes. Does anybody ever notice that? Like, there are some people that just want you to stay stuck on stupid. They don't want you to know the answer. They don't want you to figure things out. They give you a problem for every solution. I call them the Negro naysayers. So the Negro naysayer will get angry if you come and you say, well, a little preparation would have helped you avoid the diabetes. No, you must be a Republican. You think you better than everybody else? Like, no, I just don't want you to get your foot cut off, Grandma. Like, or whatever. Like, just it's kind of like it's kind of weird to me. Like, well, they have, if you read books on marriage and relationships, studies show that staying married helps you to have better, helps you to have better finances. I'm gonna give you some stats on that because I want to actually talk about a specific topic. And there are people who just get angry with that. And I think it's because we're connected, we're addicted to our generational curses. I really think that we're addicted to our generational curses the same way an alcoholic is addicted to liquor, even though they know the liquor's killing them. Or a heroin addict, their body needs heroin, even though there's nothing in your body that is going to improve through consistent heroin use, right? Nothing. There's nothing in your body that's going to get better from the use of heroin, but you got to have it. You need it, right? And that's how you're coping. That's how you're getting through the day. You get your little hit in the morning so you can, and maybe you're even functioning. You need your little liquor. You got some people that keep the bottle by the bed and stuff like that. Right. So sugar, yeah, there you go, Kenneth. Sugar's really addictive. I mean, sugar, I think in a generation, we're gonna figure out that sugar is just like that was like the secret horrible drug that everybody was using and we didn't know how bad it was. Weed, there's a lot of young people because when they started to, and I'm okay with the legalization of weed. I really am. I told you I'm heavily invested in that. I own a lot of different companies that are going to pop up once they legalize cannabis, which I believe that they will. but I don't smoke it. And it's no disrespect to those who do. I use a CBD oil like on my knee. Like my knee gets stiff sometimes. I'll put it on my knee or on anything that hurts. But it's kind of like Robitussin. Remember Eddie Murphy used to say put some Robitussin on it. No matter what the problem was, you just put some tussin on it. So anyway, I put I put the CBD oil on everything that works or everything that stops working, and it does work really well. But the problem with the THC to me is that you're dealing with stuff that's manufactured in these factories and you don't know what they're putting in it. And I also think that you should maybe, any person that really is a deep believer and a consistent consumer of cannabis should probably be, should pay attention to the studies that show that literally your brain slows down. Like literally, if you use it too much and you lean on it all the time, you can't process information like everybody else, and everybody else will notice it except for you. Everyone will notice it except for you. And there was a time, maybe about 8 years ago, where a lot of young people were really getting into the weed, and they would, somebody would come to work smelling like weed. And nobody and they wouldn't notice it because their brain, their mind, their nose was immune to the smell, but everybody else noticed it. If you don't smell it, you know the smell. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Anybody ever seen that? And you try to, you try to politely as an older person say, hey, you might not want to come to work smelling like weed every day. That's not going to help you keep your job, and you don't know how that conversation is going to go. But I think now, because people are aware of the smell, they switched over to the gummies. And so they might use the gummies, or they might drink they got every way in the world for you to consume it now. And so, but you can tell, you can just, like, I can just talk to you, and by the quickness of your responses to things or the way you react to information, I can just pick that up, right? Because I'm really sensitive to how, like, I know a smart person when I see one, I know a slow person when I see one. So either you're mentally slow or something's made you mentally slow, right? So anyway, long story short, these are little things I think that should be kept in mind, right, as we're making decisions and investments and movements in our lives. Somebody asked what weed stocks am I invested in? I don't remember all of them. I know that there was one with the ticker symbol YOLO, YOLO. It hasn't been a great investment so far. It's actually gone down, I think, since I bought it. But I keep buying it because I buy dips. That's my strategy. I like dips, and I believe that eventually, YOLO and some of the other weed assets are going to go up in value once they legalize everything. I think that that's what it is. And remember, here's the thing. This is the other part that's interesting. So, we should address this before I get into the real thing I really wanted to dive into. But basically. So there was a guy on Twitter. I mentioned something about the market crash on Friday. If you didn't see, the stock market really had a rough day Friday. And I said something about, about the crash and just some things you might want to look at in terms of, sort of benefiting from what's happening right now. And he said, and you've been telling people for the past 2 weeks to buy stock. And so see what's wrong with you. You're the worst financial advisor ever. You're the worst financial advisor ever. But this is fine. When you have millions of followers, you're gonna have people crazy. You have people in the group that don't like you, and that's okay. I get that. So I went back and I said, first thing I said was, I'm not a financial advisor. I don't give financial advice. That's the first thing I said. But secondly, the biggest thing you have to understand is that the stock market is a 10-year game. It is not a 2 week casino. Do you understand that? The stock market is not a 2 week casino. There's absolutely no way on earth, no way. And get this, my mama used to say that she'd say, I need you to get this through your thick head. So for the people that don't want to listen, I love you, but I need you to get this through your thick head. And I say this with love, the same way my mama loved me. Get this through your thick head. All of us, I got the thickest head up in here because sometimes I don't want to listen either. You cannot determine the quality of an investment by what that stock did in the last 2 weeks. It is absolutely impossible for you to know if that was a good investment based on what that stock did in the last 2 weeks. Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? 2 weeks, 2 days is not enough. 2 weeks is not enough. 2 months is not enough. 2 years ain't enough. Warren Buffett, one of the greatest investors in the history of this earth, who's the best on the planet at making money, he's sitting on $165 billion in cash, and he was born with less money in his family than a lot of you have in your family right now. He said, if you're not prepared to own a stock for 10 years, you shouldn't even own it for 10 minutes. That's what Buffett said. Now, Buffett is not perfect. Buffett is not always correct about everything. Buffett's style is not the only style. I want to make that clear. But there's a point to be made about the significance of keeping perspective in mind when you are an investor. You cannot look and see like, oh well, I bought the stock at 5 o'clock and this it's 9 o'clock now and the stock ain't went up. Well, the market ain't open at 9 o'clock, but you get the point. Like, well, I bought it on Tuesday, and it's been 3 days and it hasn't moved. It's gone down in 3 days. Stop that, please. You're gonna drive yourself crazy. You're gonna end up in a insane asylum just thinking like that. Okay, that's the first thing I want to share. Second thing I wanted, actually, before I do that, I wanted to mention that a lot of you are doing amazing things with your families when it comes to wealth. A lot of you have reached millionaire status. A lot of you have families that have investment clubs. You started businesses. Some of you bought your first home. Some of you are teaching your kids. We'd like to hear your stories if you don't mind sharing them. Here's a link I wanted to share with you. If you could like take a moment, you could do it during class if you want to, or maybe after class is over. If you could just kind of share your story, like let us know what you're doing, and I would like to shout out your story, so that people can be inspired by it. Maybe they can get guidance and instruction from it. And I know that when I meet you all and bump into you, and you tell me your stories, I'm always really excited. I talked to a young black man at an event not too long ago, and he literally said he came up and he chased me down. He chased because he really wanted to talk to me. I thought he was trying to beat me up or fight me or something. But anyway, he chased me down and he said, "Man, I just had to talk to you." And I said, "What's going on? What happened?" And he said, when I started to listen to you in 2017, I was really broke. I didn't have any money. I was struggling." He said, and I said, "Well, how are you doing now?" And he said, after about 5 years or 6 years of doing this stuff, he said, "I actually have three properties now, and I bought my last one for $700,000 cash." And I was like, holy cow, that's amazing. Like, that's wonderful. And that's not the only story. There's so many other stories I've had a chance to hear. And stuff like that isn't just good for the community in terms of us understanding the importance and the value of investing. It's also good for me too, because it really helps me to just remember, like, okay, there is somebody listening. Because a lot of times I'm gonna tell you the truth, from where I sit, you feel like the odd man out sometimes. Like I feel like I'm like, gosh, am I just the grumpy old man or whatever? Like, I don't know. Like I don't question who I am. I'm gonna be who I am no matter what. But a lot of times I'm like, well, maybe this world just isn't built for people like me. Maybe there's something weird about a black person who's saying like, okay, I'm tired of this. Enough is enough. I want to fix this. I want to see things better. I want to see us on top. I don't want to see us on the bottom, and I don't want to see us barely struggling to stay in the game. I don't want to fight for a seat at another man's table. I want us to build tables. I think we got men and women that can build tables. Why can't we build tables? White men done built a billion tables, and we up here trying to get a seat at one. I don't want to do that. I want our kids building tables, and I want us to know how to be table builders. And I think we have the ability to do that. And I want to thank those of you who do listen, but I don't feel like I still it's still challenging because it's like, are we the minority, or is it my delivery? And maybe I sound mean, maybe I hurt people's feelings. I think I do because I just can't. I have very low tolerance for BS. Things that don't make sense to me. I'm not gonna do it. Life's too short to be doing stuff you don't want to do. So anyway, I put the link in the chat, and if you guys can share your story, that would really help us a lot. Because I am of the belief that the Black Business School, we don't just talk about things, we show results. I did a survey with you guys and I asked you, I said, do you have more money in your pocket because you've been listening to this and been a part of this? And the overwhelming majority of you said yes, which really makes me very, very proud. So anyway, that's that. All right. So one thing I wanted to talk about quickly as we discuss this, just finances and the things that impact our economic outcomes is, has anybody seen that show, that balloon popping show, where they pop the balloon and then that's how you decide who your baby daddy's going to be? You like somebody will come in and based on what they look like and what they sound like in the first 30 seconds, people will start popping balloons to decide to either accept or reject the person. It's really a fascinating show to watch. Um, it's probably I personally I feel like it's a little bit unhealthy in the sense that it's just kind of mean. Like the New York Times actually compared it to a firing squad. They said it's like a firing squad for like except you're being rejected from love as opposed to being shot. And I don't know. First of all, I wouldn't go on a show like that. How many of you would even want somebody popping balloons to tell you if they think you're cute or acceptable or not? I wouldn't deal with that. No, you take that balloon and shove it up your butt. But then the other thing is like I don't even know if I'd feel like it's very nice to like pop balloons on people like that. I kind of feel like that's kind of unnecessarily cruel. And I think that we kind of are enjoying watching people go through the agony of rejection. And I don't know about anybody else, but I didn't like rejection. We've all gone through it. And rejection isn't fun, like rejection hurts your feelings and stuff like that. And but you got to act like you're tough. And I think for young people, it's really bad because they're still in their 20s, and in your 20s, you're sensitive, you kind of you're still learning who you are. And I would just say for if there was a young person who was like, yeah, I'm thinking about going on the balloon popping show and let a bunch of strangers judge me. I'd be like, no, don't do it. Like, why? Who the hell are they to have the right to pop a balloon on you and decide if you're worthy of love or not? That's crazy to me. But beyond that, though, I wanted to talk about it from another perspective. I wanted to help you understand that the balloon popping mentality that exists in our culture, the whole swipe left, swipe right nonsense, that actually doesn't just explain why so many people are going to die alone. It also explains why a lot of people are financially destitute. Did y'all know that? Did y'all know that this balloon popping nonsense, like this kind of mindset, literally explains exactly why people are struggling financially, or it connects the two are connected, because we've talked extensively about all the different studies. I've cited enough of them in this class that I don't have to recite them again. All the studies that connect wealth to relationship status. Did you know that? Did you know that people who have stable relationships are far more likely to have stable finances? Duh! Like, duh! Because if you have stable relationships, that usually means that you're a pretty stable person. And if you're a stable person, that means you're typically a pretty stable investor. And since your romantic relationships are the most important investments you make, more important than your stocks that you pick. I mean, I could pick the right stocks for you, but if you're not a stable person, you're not going to get any benefit from that. In unstable people, this is why exactly why we created the first ever Black financial therapy department. Because a lot of us have a hard time just being stable and emotionally mature and balanced and disciplined. Discipline is not popular in a world where people just do things based on irrational emotion. Discipline is not popular in a world of instant gratification. They call you a simp and a sucker and a pick me and a wimp and whatever and a square and all these they'll make fun of you. People who are on a path to self-destruction, tell me if you've seen this. Give me a yes if you agree with this. People that love to live their lives on the path of self-destruction, they love to make fun of people who don't want to destroy themselves. Do you agree with that? It's Sunday. I'm gonna ask you, can you give me an amen on that? I really believe that. I believe that people who follow the crowd, they get angry at people who don't follow the crowd. People who make one bad decision after another, they make fun of people who work hard to make good decisions. People who make snap judgments, irrationally quick decisions that are going to be very costly. They clown people who sit back and say, "No, I need to think about that. I'm not sure. Let me get back to you on that in 2 weeks." Do you understand? Do you get what I'm saying? And what I can tell you is that this is what investing's all about. This is investing 101, people. Like before we before we even get to the money, you got to get to life. Life is bigger than the money. Money is a part of life. And believe me, if you ruin your life, you will ruin the money. Right? For sure. And now if you build the money could be, if you have the right mindset, be a tool for the enhancement of your life, or the money can be a powerful tool for your own self-destruction. I just watched a story yesterday. I put it on my Instagram. My Instagram is Dr. Boyce Finance. And on my Instagram, Dr. Boyce Finance, I shared a story. I believe I shared it. If I didn't, I'll share it today, of a young lady who was an internet influencer in Los Angeles who was making millions of dollars a year. And she got drunk, got behind the wheel of a car, and killed some people. Now she's on her way to prison. So in that case, money and clout, internet clout, might be the thing that destroyed her. I'm not sure. But either way, though, you see many people who use money as a way to destroy themselves. So life tends to impact your money, and then money impacts your life. They're like siblings, except life is like the house, and money is like a person that lives in the house. So the person that lives in the house is determined to destroy the house, then the house is going to eventually burn down. So if money is not accompanied with character and intelligence and thoughtful decision making, then these two people, your character and your money, live in the same house, which is called your life, and they get together, they conspire. One of them says, "Hey, you get the gasoline, I'm gonna get the matches," and then snap, boom. Next thing you know, the whole house is burned down. And then vice versa, if you destroy the house, then you kill the things that are inside the house. If I go and I blow the house up and your money and your character and all these things live inside the house, then those things could be destroyed as well, right? So it's a recursive system. One thing feeds into the other. So here's the point. Let's circle back on these balloon popping shows and that stupid crap. I just so you know, I'm not making fun of the people that make this show up. God bless. Congratulations, you're gonna make money. I think they got on Netflix now, but you'll never get my money. I'm not going on your show. Ain't nobody popping a damn balloon on me except my wife. And even she can't do that. Even she couldn't tell me that I'm a bad catch. No, you know what? If she didn't want to catch me, somebody else would have. Okay. So here's the deal. First thing about the just the nature of shows like that, I get it. It's built on the swipe left, swipe life, swipe right culture that has sort of come to dominate dating, right? Online dating apps and all that. I've seen a lot of that, mostly from a distance though. I tried it when I was younger, but at that time it was kind of a new thing. And I noticed even then, even as a 30-year-old graduate student, I noticed that I was about to take my job on the faculty of Syracuse. Even back then, I noticed how that changed how dating took place. Before, you would have to work hard to meet somebody that you liked. There would be a process, and then when you found a good one, you held on to it because you knew that there would be some work. Search costs in economics, they call these search costs. There will be a search cost to find someone new. But then the apps come along and you've got all these different people that you can just pick and you can keep swiping and picking. And so what happened was the quantity increased, but the quality went down. Right? So you're looking at 20 people who all put a message in your inbox. So you think you have 20 options, 20 viable options for a relationship, when really maybe only three or four of those people are actually gonna be committed to you in sort of a monogamous one-on-one sort of way, right? So it creates a distortion in terms of your reality. You have a lot of options, but you don't have any options at all. It's kind of a weird thing, and I remember being confused about it. I couldn't figure out, like, I don't know if the woman really wants me and likes me, or if I'm just one of 20 guys in her inbox. I didn't know. So if I pass up one woman who really likes me for a woman who I think likes me, then I could end up missing out because then she goes and I pick her, and then she picks someone else. Next thing you know, it was chaos. It was absolute chaos. So thank God I was blessed with with being on TV eventually, where I became kind of known in my field, so people could Google me. So it was kind of so I stopped doing online dating because I couldn't do it anymore. People would Google me and they say, "Oh my God, you're this famous kind of person." So thank God it stopped, right? So I started getting back to a different reality. It wasn't normal reality, but it was different reality in that I had to actually meet people and I'd meet women, get to know them, talk to them for a while, whatever. But it wasn't normal reality because again, because when a lot of people know you, you go a lot of places and people just come up to you. Pretty girls would just pop up out of the blue because apparently one lady explained it. She said the things that that I like in men are, she said, height. And I said, well, I don't have any height. I'm 5'8". I think I keep believing I'm 6'3", and because the people keep telling me I'm 5'8", but I think that's fake news. And I said, and she said clout. I said, okay, I got a little bit of clout. And coin. I said, okay, I know coin. I studied coin. I know how. I'm an expert on money. And then also sometimes like being smart is an asset too, right? So it was an experience. But the thing was though, I think when I look at the balloon popping show, and as I got older, I started to understand from a research based and from a life based perspective, just that how bad relationships were just such a wealth killer. In fact, actually, do you know how many of y'all knew this? How many of y'all know that when a man gets a divorce, his wealth drops by 77%? Did any of y'all know that? That literally you pick the wrong woman and you get a divorce, you might be on your way to the poorhouse. And oh, and also for women, ladies, your income when you get divorced drops by about 55%. So basically, divorced people just unfortunately, and if you're divorced, I'm not making fun of you, I promise. So forgive me if I sound harsh. It really, really kicks your finances in the ass. It really, I mean, you married the wrong person because you picked them on a balloon popping show. You might as well just go sign up and just go find the class on how to be as broke as possible. You know, like, because you done picked the lady because she had a big booty and spoke well for about 30 seconds. And now your finances are just absolutely ruined. They have another theory. They call it the thin slice judgment. And there was a research paper written on in 1992. And in the thin slice judgment, they said that people ruin their lives if they make decisions based on limited information. Like you see somebody for 30 seconds and then you pop a balloon, or you choose not to pop the balloon, right? You're literally taking in 30 seconds of information and making a decision on that this a person who might become the father of your child, right? And here's the thing: you might say, well, no, they're not going to be the father of my child. I just met him, but yet you're deciding in that moment to even let that person into your life. Do you understand? And let me just kind of explain it like this. I don't want to deviate from the financial side too much because it is financial. But I know guys who have, lots of kids, right? I know guys who have, I knew there was one guy I saw, he had 27 kids. He had 20 babies mamas, 27 kids. And so while somebody might say, "Oh, I would never have a child with a man like that." I'm like, "Well, you didn't know this man. You didn't understand that, by virtue of the fact that his track record was so strong with women, he's got a bunch of tools in his pocket. You know that he gonna find some way to sneak in your life. He knows he's a chameleon. He knows how to disguise himself as a nice guy. He smells good. He's 6'2". For some people, being tall is enough to get in the bed, right? I mean, he was tall, handsome, very kind, and women could not resist. So a woman will be like, "Oh, girl, I would never get pregnant by a man like that." But then you let him in your life, and love is a drug. So that's like me saying, "Oh, I'll never be a crackhead." But then I'm like, let me take a little hit just to see how much I don't like crack. See how that's going to work out for me. So the way I avoid alcohol is I don't go into the liquor store because I know that whatever's in the liquor store is good. The way I avoid drugs is I'm not even trying it. If you're using drugs, I'm walking out of the room. I'm not, I don't even want to be near you if you're messing with dope. If you are toxic, if you're a toxic woman, I don't want to sit across from you. I don't even want to have dinner with you once. When I'm single and and I know you're toxic and I can see the toxicity from a distance, I don't want to be close to whatever you got because I know that you might stimulate the irrational side of my brain where the dopamine and the oxytocin live, and then it might tempt me to dibble and dabble when really the alcoholic needs to stay out of the liquor store. They need to stay out of the bar. You can't be a recovering alcoholic and hang out at the bar. So the idea that you think that you can just let some person in your life, somebody who is great at sex, who's very smooth with women, who has studied, like it's crazy. I wish some of these guys would study wealth as much as they study how to get some ass. Excuse my French. I'm not going to talk like that anymore. But if they studied wealth, it's hard. If they study how to get money, it's as hard as they study how to get another girl pregnant or how to get another woman. They'd be as rich as Warren Buffett. They'd have $50 million dollars in the bank. So what I'm saying is that that really sometimes when you talk about decision making, irrational, unhealthy decision making, the biggest enemy that you confront is yourself. The biggest enemy you confront is the devil that lives inside of you, the temptation that lives inside of you. We all have temptation. All of us do. We all have things that can throw us off our game, that can cause us to make a bad short-term decision that has long-term consequences. So awareness therapy is beneficial so you can protect yourself from yourself. You're not protecting yourself from that man or from that woman. You're protecting yourself from you because you chose that man, you chose that woman, and you may not even know why. Or maybe you do know why. I just love a woman who looks like this. I love a man who's got a blah blah blah. I love, whatever it is. And because these are the things, this is how the devil gets you. This is how you get sucked in and you're like, wait, this isn't my life. How did I end up in this situation? Well, you need to ask yourself because you put yourself in that situation. Did nobody else do that? You went on the balloon popping show and met the man who was 6'2", who fit your whole fantasy of what you think a man's supposed to be. And within 30 seconds of hearing him talk, you held onto that balloon and went out on a couple of dates, thinking that it's not a big deal. And with each step in the process, he got closer and closer and closer to you. And about maybe the fourth date, you end up sleeping together. And at that point, it's kind of game over. If you understand biochemistry. Do you understand? When I wrote my book, Financial Lovemaking, studied intensely the biochemistry of love and sex. And what you don't understand is that the universe and God, whatever you call it, did a major rope-a-dope on you in the way they will reel you in with sex. Like once you let somebody touch you, there is a chemical explosion inside your body that would absolutely blow your mind. So if you want to protect yourself from somebody or from something or from a bad situation, you got to know how to prevent before you say, I'm going to come in, I'm going to let it all happen, then I'm going to go back and fix it. Or I'm going to reverse it all. It really reminds me of drugs. It's like if I tell you, I could sit here and talk to you all day. I'm a decently smart man. I'm not stupid. Except sometimes when I am stupid. I could talk to you all day about how I'm anti-drugs and the devastation that crack has caused the black community and how crack is whack and it's bad for your health and all that other stuff. But if I take a hit of crack, my whole perspective would probably change just like that. I'd be like, well, drugs are bad, but you just got to know how to you just got to know how to handle it. I'd be like I'd be, my language would be shifty and I'd be like, yeah, crack. I used to say crack was completely whack, but then I realized you can smoke crack and still get up in the morning and teach a class, right? I would start rationalizing unhealthy, irrational behavior. So how many times have you seen somebody go into something that was really bad, very stupid, very unhealthy, but maybe very pleasurable? And they start rationalizing decisions like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing this, or well, it's just we're just friends with benefits and whatever. And what you're doing is you're kind of being sucked into this natural state of things. Like men and women are naturally attracted to each other. So why do I bring this up? I bring this up not because I'm not trying to be a dating guru. I bring it up because you're investing, you're pulling yourself into a situation that's going to disrupt your outcomes in so many other areas. There are going to be side effects to the choices that you're making when it comes to your relationships. And one of the biggest side effects, all the data shows, is your money, your wealth. Uh, Divorced couples, they say most divorced couples, not only do they lose over half their wealth after the divorce, they also never recover. Most of them never recover. Now, those of you that are in here that are working to recover, I'm praying for you, and I believe that you can recover. You're making the right choices. You're doing the best you can, and so you're doing more than most people. So I think your chances of recovery are higher than most. But the best way to solve a problem is to prevent the problem. And I don't really know if people get that. I really don't get that. So just to sort of summarize this and kind of break this down. Um, so the balloon popping show, the reason that it's a dangerous way to make decisions is because there are lots of theories and research on how making decisions based on limited information leads to irrational choices and unhealthy outcomes. That's the first thing. Second thing, I mentioned thin slice judgment, which basically says a lot of people do this. A lot of people make important life decisions without really processing things. Why? I think it's a mental health issue. You've never been trained, a lot of people haven't been trained to sit back and just take their time, right? Calm down. Stop letting your emotions make your decisions for you. Learn how to breathe, sit back, walk away, and say, okay, let me think about this for a while. And if you do that, what you'll find is that your decisions will be much different. The third piece of information that's really important is on the flip side, when you talk about relationships, they say that the longer you date somebody, this is easy, this is 2 plus 2. The longer you date a person before you marry them, the more likely it is that your marriage will survive. Also, if you have a long-term friendship with the person, they say that your relationship is likely to last longer because you have different ways of handling your disagreements and disputes. Your communication is different. I think they call it emotional resilience. Your emotional resilience is different. That means I can, like my wife and I have been friends for so long, I could probably tolerate more from her than I could from somebody that I just met on a balloon popping show a year and a half ago, right? Like, so with her, I can't replace her because I can't go find another person that I've known for 30 years, and as my friend, and make her my wife. And any woman I meet after her, it'd have to be somebody new, and then there's a lot of questions with that. Whereas with my wife, I can't replace my wife. Also, there are so many times where I would say to her, I'd be like, you about the only woman on this planet who could get away with saying that or doing that, and have me put up with that, right? Or it'd be a joke or something like that, right? So the emotional resilience increases when you have a friendship or some type of connection that's deeper than just, oh, I thought she was cute and she sounded good for 30 seconds on the balloon popping show. So I would say that shows like this, I guess, are good entertainment for people because they like to see people get, tortured and mistreated and rejected. I don't think rejection is funny. I don't think rejection is entertaining. My heart goes out, especially when you talk about how many young people have mental health issues already. Their self-esteem isn't where it should be. Their confidence needs to grow. They're in a lot of pain emotionally. Also, dating is really, really hard for them. When I talk to young ladies, they're confused because they feel like the men just don't know how to be men. I think the broken family is a big part of that. If a man never was raised by a man who, like I'm married with children in my house, and my brother's married with children in his house because we saw our father married with children in his house. If we had not seen that, I really believe that we would probably say, why would you put up with all this stuff with marriage? It's really, really hard. But it was really, we were willing to do the hard stuff because there is a status that we saw that came with being the head of a household. Do you understand? But if I've never even seen a man as the head of a household, it's going to be hard for me to process it that way. So I'm not saying that it's impossible. I'm saying that maybe instead of that being status, maybe I think being a rapper, a famous rapper is status or whatever, right? Or having five girlfriends is status, right? It's no disrespect to anybody who thinks different, but this is what you're dealing with. You're dealing with a cultural imbalance here. And then also same thing. But it's not just the men. I think the women. I think the women didn't have the balance as well. And so because I do believe that there's a way you treat a man. Some people don't want to acknowledge that. There's a way you should talk to a man. Some people don't acknowledge that. Just like I learned as a kid, there's a way you talk to a woman. I couldn't talk to my mother the same way I talked to my father. So if somebody says, well, you don't talk to a woman that way, I'd be like, yeah, you're right. I shouldn't say it like that. Let me say it in a different way. But when you say that to some young ladies, like, well, you don't talk, you should talk to a man with a certain way. Men like to be respected. I ain't got to respect nothing. And then you're confused when a man's like, I don't want to marry you. I want to sleep with you, but I don't want to marry you because you're mean, right? So I personally think that re-educating yourself, if your goal is to have healthy institutions in your life, like a family that you can build around and all that, you're gonna have to re-educate yourself. I think you have to let go of political correctness, let go of what's popular because what's popular is not working. You're going to have to make your own rules, humble yourself. I think humility goes a long way. I think submission goes a long way. Anything that I want in life, whether it's building a business or building a family or getting in shape or whatever it is, whatever I want in life, I humble myself to that thing. Do you understand? I submit. Submission is a word that, for some reason, people decided it was a bad word. I think the word submit is a powerful and important word, and maybe it's an appropriate word for a Sunday. We're talking on a Sunday right now. If you're listening to this live, submit. If you go to church, you're submitting to God's will, right? If you get married, you're submitting to the family. You're submitting to the marriage. And to me, what submission means to me is it means that I am willing to, is today, wait, is today Saturday? I thought it was Sunday. Oh my God, I'm a crazy man. Thank you for correcting me. I see that. Woo, buddy, man. I said that earlier. I said it's a Sunday. I don't know. It feels like a Sunday. Ooh, okay. That's all right. We're gonna pretend like that didn't happen. So Even though it's not a Sunday, we gonna make it a Sunday because I really think that that word submit I think that submitting means humbling yourself to something. It means allowing the goal to be bigger than you, to be bigger than what you want in the moment in your needs. So when I married my wife, I submitted not so much to my wife per se. I do, even though that does happen sometimes. I submitted to the marriage, to the family. Because if I got up every day and refused to submit to anything, if I got up every day and said, I'm gonna do what I want to do, I don't care. I'm gonna just be Boyce. I don't need. Well, then the family would probably suffer because sometimes there will be a conflict of interest. So, same thing is true when it comes to wealth. Like if you're trying to build wealth and you've never done it before, and your family never did it, and you don't know what to do quite yet, you're gonna have to submit to the process. You're gonna have to say, okay, you know what? I'm gonna approach this like a newborn baby. I'm gonna absorb information, submit myself to whatever ideas I like that I think will help me get to my goal, and submit to becoming the person I need to be to reach the objective that I want to reach. When I decided to be an entrepreneur, I here I was. I had a whole PhD. I had more education than 99% of all white people. And I had to submit, I had to acknowledge and humble myself to the fact that there was a gaping hole, a deficiency in my educational process. I had to again as cognitive. Remember, I mean, I was hot stuff. It was really hard to get that doctorate. Very few, no other black people got it anywhere on the planet. So that not that year. So it was really like weird for me to be like, damn, I'm stupid in this area. I don't know what's going on. I need to learn how to make my own money because all I've ever learned was how to get money from a white man. All I've ever learned was how to sit back and wait for some white person to write a check and pay me to do a job. I've never known what it's like to make my own money without their help. So I literally said to myself, okay, I'm gonna submit to this. I'm gonna go and study just like I would if I was a 10th grader. And I'm gonna assume I know nothing. And also when it came to being an entrepreneur, I realized I didn't have to just learn a bunch of facts and knowledge and information. I had to learn a whole culture. So I just inundated myself in the culture. I leaned on my subconscious. I would just listen to podcast after podcast on how to start a business, how to be an entrepreneur. I would hear entrepreneur stories, how they started where I was and got to where they were because I was like, I need to understand this because like right now I cannot visualize myself as a truly independent black man. I can't even see what that looks like. I've never lived my life without getting a paycheck. So ultimately, what I'm saying is at the end of the day, whatever it is that's going to help you build, you must submit to that. If you're trying to lose weight, for example, and you're gonna start training, submit yourself to the process, submit yourself to the trainer. If you join a group, submit yourself to the group because part of submission, the humility of submission, in my opinion, comes from accepting the idea that who you are is not enough. Because if it was enough, you'd have it right now. Do you understand? Like, submitting means you have to kind of say, damn, like, I want to think that I know the answers, but obviously I don't, because if I knew the answers, I would have applied it by now. And I think when you talk about family, I submit to family not just for the economic reasons. I mean, the economics makes a big difference. I don't want to go broke from divorce. I don't want to be fighting with my wife so much that all my businesses fail. I don't want to be miserable and struggle financially at the same time. So my goal every day is to figure out how to make sure I get along with that woman in the other room so that we can stay on the same page and operate together, which sometimes means I got to go and learn a new set of tools and skills that I did not have before. Like if you ever really want to grow, put yourself in an uncomfortable situation that forces you to grow. You have to like, damn, I need to go and talk to AI. I need to go read a book. I need to go talk to daddy. I need to go talk to somebody because right now the toolkit that I have to deal with the situation I'm confronted with is not adequate enough. But here's the reward. The benefit is that if you learn these tools and skills, you'll be far more likely to be financially successful than most people because what's happening is that the patience and the tools and skills and the emotional disposition required to keep a relationship healthy is very similar to the skills that are required to be a good investor. In fact, your relationships are a massive investment. Good relationships, I've seen good relationships build multi-million dollar businesses. I'll give you an example. I saw this performer that was really good. She's brand new. Her name's Doechii. Anybody seen Doechii? I think she reminds me of Kendrick Lamar, and it didn't surprise me. I think they're with the same record label. I said, yeah, she kind of like a Kendrick Lamar, like I kind of like her. And and one of the things about her is I thought about just times where there were I thought I contrasted her to another celebrity. I know what it is. Here we go. There's two young celebs. Bear with me now because this is economic. There's two young new faces, new superstars that are on the scene. One is Doechii, who's black, and the other one is this lady who's starring in the Snow White movie. Anybody seen that? The controversy around Snow White? I forgot the lady's name. My daughter loves her. She knows her because she was on Disney apparently. But I don't know her name. But anyway, so Rachel something. So long story short, here's the deal. I watch things, I observe things, and I try because I'm always learning. Life is a big textbook. So I'm watching Doechii and how Doechii operates in the industry. And I think what made me think about this was I heard somebody say, I know what it was. My wife has a friend who's famous, and they went to lunch, and her famous friend said that in order for you to succeed in Hollywood, you've got to submit to Hollywood. You've got to basically give it all, like let people just control your whole career, right? Which can lead to some really hard choices, right? And so this and on the healthier side, it might mean, just having good relationships and making good choices and not letting your ego cause you to piss people off or to just be mean to people or rude and disrespectful. So I thought about Doechii and how Doechii kind of rose to the top because she's super talented and also she's got good relationships and she's working with celebrities that seem to like her, Will Smith and the lady from Insecure, stuff like that. And then I saw the Rachel lady, Rachel Zegler, that's her name. Thank you, Marsha, from Snow White. Rachel's doing the exact opposite. Rachel's just reminding you that white people can be ghetto too. Because Rachel, even though Disney has put probably what $300 million into this Snow White reboot, Rachel's been getting on Twitter and just saying all kinds of things that are pissing off the fans. She's disrespecting the franchise and like just saying crazy stuff. And I'm like, ooh, buddy, they ain't never gonna hire her again. No one will ever hire her because she's ruining the project. Like she doesn't realize she's too young to realize that yeah, you are a superstar, but there are people that had to put $300 million of their money into this movie. You can't go out here just saying whatever you want to say. You can have freedom of speech on your own time. Like the one falsehood of America is that people believe freedom of speech is for everybody. No, freedom of speech is for people that can pay their own bills. If somebody else is paying the bills, you can still say what you want, but there's going to be a price for that. You will pay a price for saying things that go outside the lines of whoever your financial benefactor is. So in each of those situations, what I see is an example of one person who has submitted to the process for good or bad. Doechii, who's doing really well because of it. She's getting awards and everybody loves her. And Rachel, what's her face, who is in the Snow White movie, who will never be hired by Disney again and may never get another job with anyone ever again for the rest of her life because she won't submit to anything, right? And maybe it's her strong feminist spirit that makes her believe that submission is always a terrible thing. But I don't know. My thought, if I was her dad, I would say, are you sure that you want to lose all your future opportunities because you're choosing to say these things? And if the answer is yes, then I say, okay, go for it. You're gonna have to pay a price for it, but if you're willing to pay the price, then go at it. Go at it. So that idea of submission, the question is, what are you submitted to? What are you submitting to? Everybody has to submit to something. Everybody has to submit to something. I have to submit every day to my 5 a.m. workout, or I'm gonna become fat. I have to submit to my family, or I'll be another broke divorced person. I have to submit to you because without your support, I can't do these things every day. I'd be sitting here talking to myself, right? So the humility of submission goes with the investment required to have a certain amount of power and control and success slash freedom, right? Freedom is never free. And freedom does, to some extent, require some degree of submission because freedom is connected to power You cannot build power if you submit to nothing and you have di no discipline at all. A person that doesn't have discipline will almost never have power because power is something that typically has to be built. Do you follow what I'm saying? Do you get what I'm saying? Power is something that is built. Hollywood was built. There's power in Hollywood. The banking system was built. There's power in the banking system. The NFL was built. There's power in the NFL. And sometimes we make the mistake of thinking we can have power without submission. We can have power without discipline. We can have power without a long-term plan. We can get power overnight. And then what happens is, and this is why a lot of your black celebrities get destroyed in public, is that you start thinking you have power and you got it overnight because you got a record deal or white people put you on TV. And then they're like, no, Negro, you thought you controlled all this. You don't control nothing up in here. You know, we're going to replace you. We're going to remove you and replace you with somebody else. Like that example I brought in the other day where I showed you the story about Rick James when he made $40 million on his first album but only 13 million on his second album, and he turned in the third album. They gave him a check for $1 million because that's what he gets for turning in his tapes. And he gets so angry at the guy because he's like, sell my Emma effing record. And he gets up on the desk, he snorts a big line of cocaine, jumps up on the desk, puts his penis in the face of the record label executive and says, "Sell my Emma effing record," because cocaine's a hell of a drug, and that's what he did because he was Rick James, and we might think that those antics are great and hilarious, but that is the moment where the executive turned to the guy and said, "Bring me Lionel Richie. We're going to put our money behind him instead of putting our money behind this crazy man because this crazy man doesn't understand what it means to maintain healthy relationships. This crazy man, it thinks that he's bigger than the group. He thinks he's bigger than the purpose. He thinks he's bigger than the institution. He thinks he's bigger than the cause. And this is what fame does. Clout and fame are also a hell of a drug. And I think that's what happened there. And as you know, at that moment, Rick James's career was never the same. His career went down. And it wasn't because his talent went down. He was always Mr. Super Freak. He always had the talent. But one of the biggest things that people forget, especially for African American people, because we're caught up in the entertainment industry and we think it's all about talent. Who can sing, who can dance, who's pretty. And man, please, it's about the damn money. It's the money. It don't matter if you are the prettiest and can sing and dance the best. If don't nobody put no money behind you, then no, none of that, no one will ever see it. The ta talent must be distributed. People have to see it on a big stage or a big screen or across the world on the radio stations. Do you know how many talented singers and dancers there are in the black community? There's probably a million. You know how many? We have an oversupply of 40-year-old rappers, right? We have so many rappers and dancers and singers that it's insane. But most of them will never be famous. Why are they not famous? Because they don't have the economics. It's the money that drives all that. Money manufactures fame the same way Ford manufactures trucks. Fame is manufactured. Fame is created through marketing. Marketing costs money. So don't you ever think that it's just about the talent. Stop that. That's naive thinking. Sure, the talent's important. The talent is, in mathematics, we call that a necessary, though not sufficient condition. It's necessary to have the talent most of the time, but it's not sufficient. It's not adequate. It won't get you over the hump. That's not what's going to make you great. Getting on Instagram and singing and dancing and rapping is not what's going to allow you to truly have the fame that you seek. Someone with money, someone that writes a check. This is why economic intelligence is so important. Somebody who writes a check has to see that talent and say, "Oh, I'm going to invest in that person." That's why when the rapper Megan Thee Stallion became famous and said, "I want to go sign with Roc Nation," and the label's like, "No, we invested in you. We made you famous." No, it was my talent that made me famous. No, it wasn't your talent that made, because there's a million young ladies that can rap as good as you. You know, and you're cute, but I've seen prettier girls on the street than her. She's pretty, but I've seen they're black women are gorgeous, right? So there's lots of people, and we know twerking is like at an all-time high. So it ain't like your twerking is some unique rare earth mineral that we can only get from the mountains of China. No, everybody twerking. Go to Atlanta, you'll see twerking in the damn airport, right? So ain't nothing really all that unique about it except for one big thing, and that's the marketing. That's the money. The distribution. Somebody put money behind your rapping and twerking and everything else. Not to say you're not talented, but if you think it was just the talent and not the money, then that's not You can't make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich with no jelly. And if you take the jelly out, you just got a peanut butter sandwich, and that just sticks to the roof of your mouth and don't taste as good. So the money is critical. The business, and this is why financial intelligence is so important for children. Why is that? Well, why do I have a 14-year-old who's a great singer and dancer and a super good performer, and she's gorgeous. She's 6 feet tall, as pretty as a mama. And I said, okay, at some point, somebody's going to approach you about being a model. Somebody's going to approach you about being an actress. So, because she's got training and all those things. We just don't want her out there yet, right? But every time she goes to an audition, everyone's like, so it's like, oh Lord, here we go. So one of the things I told her is I said, I need you to learn economics. I need you to understand money because I don't really want you out here, having to struggle in order to get an opportunity, in order to show someone how talented you are, or sitting at some hot audition where there's 1,000 other people trying to get that same role. What I want you to learn is I want you to learn what Tyler Perry knows. Tyler Perry, he financed his own shows. He wrote the script and he made himself the star. I don't watch any Tyler Perry movies at all, but I have admiration for this man because he understands business. He understands that the power on the stage isn't just given to the performer. The performer doesn't really have the power. The performers can be replaced. The power of the stage belongs to the person who built the stage or the company that built the stage. And they have to respect each other. And that's the thing. When you have bad relationships or you have arrogance in the room or you have people that lack humility or perspective or submission, the ability to submit to the process, then what you'll have a superstar who thinks that they're bigger than the person who built the stage. And then what you see happen also often is that stage gets taken away from them. And I brought up Megan the Stallion because what happened was she wanted to sign, I think, if I'm not mistaken, because I read everything. I like to pay attention to what young people are talking about. She wanted to sign with Rock Nation after she became famous. Now, Rock Nation didn't want her when she was just rapping on the street corners trying to make, a couple of nickels. They wanted her after she became Megan the Stallion, right? And the way she even discussed her decision sounded like somebody who didn't understand business. So basically, I think that she went to the company, and if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong. I hope I can get some of this right. I think she went to the company and was like, "Well, you invested $250,000 to make me famous. I'll give you your $250,000 back." And I said, "Okay, she doesn't understand investing. She does that clearly means she doesn't understand even stock options. Like the way my brain works, I see that as a stock option. It was like it's like some, or but think of it like a lottery ticket. If somebody, let's say somebody says, um, I'm gonna give you $10 for a lottery ticket, and if the lottery ticket wins, then you get half the money, I get half the money, right? You follow me? You get this? Okay. And then you go buy the lottery ticket, right? And the lottery ticket makes $100 million. And let's say that you just decide, now that I got this lottery ticket that's worth $100 million, I don't want to pay, I don't want to give you half the money, right? First off, would if you were the person who gave the $10, let's put you in those shoes instead. Would you be pissed if the person that you gave the $10 to was like, no, I'm not giving you your half now. Now that I've won the lottery, you're gonna have to fight me for it. I'll be angry, right? I'd be very upset. Okay. Now, what if they said, okay, you know what? I understand how you feel. I get why you'd be upset. And let's say that they said, okay, but to make it right, I'm gonna give you back your $10. How would you feel about that? Would that be a good deal or a bad deal? What do y'all think? It would be a horrible deal. Right? It would not make any logical sense whatsoever. I would kick you straight in your balls if you said that to me, right? Because no, that lottery ticket is not a $10 ticket anymore. That's $100 million ticket, and you're trying to give me $10. You're trying to cut me out of the deal right when the deal got good. And that's what I saw when I saw Megan the Stallion telling the people that backed her financially, I'll give you back your money. I'll give you back your $250,000. What she don't understand is that they bought a $250,000 lottery ticket. Because I guarantee you that if the lottery ticket had not cashed in, if she had not become famous, she wouldn't be giving them back a $250,000. She would say, it didn't work out. Have a nice life. So it really becomes something like they have a saying in economics where it's like heads, I win, tails, you lose. right? So that means if everything goes bad, you lose, but if everything goes good, I win. And that's not fair. That's not, but that comes from not understanding business and understanding investment, right? So again, if whatever industry you go into, you're always better off understanding your economics. If you are a smart investor, you won't just make, and this is why it's important for your kids to learn these things. If you're a smart investor and smart decision maker, you will make good decisions in every area of your life. You will make good decisions when it comes to health. You will make good decisions when it comes to your economics. You will make great decisions when it comes to your relationships. And what's going to happen is it's all going to connect. But mental health is really where it starts. And that's why our Black Financial Therapy Department is so important. And speaking of that, tomorrow night, Dr. Alicia, she's doing her book club. If you want to join her, she's the head of our Black Financial Therapy Department. And she's a licensed therapist and a full professor of social work. So if you'd like to join her and get an invitation, just text the word love to the number 87948. So text love to 87948. A couple other things going on in the Black Business School is we're going to do a financial slumber party on April 18th, and the title I gave it is "Flip That Check." And the secrets to financial security. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get together at 11 o'clock at night on the 18th of April and basically have a slumber party. It's gonna be, except it's on Zoom. So we're gonna get on Zoom and I'm gonna play music and we're gonna have fun and play games and all that stuff. But we're also gonna learn finances. So if that's of interest to you, you can go to financialslumberparty.com. We made it into a membership since some of you wanted to come every month. So we reduced the price. So feel free to go to financialslumberparty.com. And also, last but not least, this summer we're going to Ghana. So if you'd like to join us in Ghana or go on any trip with us, text the word travel to the number 87948. So text travel to 87948, and I'll send you information on the trips that we're taking. So have a good day, everybody. God bless you. Thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Take care, everybody. Bye bye.